Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
I love you. You complete me. And I just...
Shut up. Just shut up. You had me at podcast.
God. What a nightmare.
We had a really tough time.
Too many quotes.
It's like the most quotable movie of all time.
I'm David Sims.
I'm Griffin Newman.
Welcome to our podcast.
It's called Blank Check with Griffin and David. We're hashtag the two friends. We host this show. We go through filmmakers who have massive success and then get blank checks to work on other projects. And sometimes those checks bounce.
Sure.
And sometimes they cash those suckers in.
Yep.
This is a mini-series. We
Yep.
do mini-series. We go through filmographies. And the guy we're working on right now is Cameron Crowe.
Cameron Crowe.
And we are on his most iconic, successful film.
Yes.
That film is called Jerry Maguire. This miniseries is called We Pod a Cast.
This is his most iconic film, I guess.
I think
it's
so.
definitely his most successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, We Podcast.
We're foreshadowing where this miniseries is going.
We
but
are.
right now we're in the
golden...
the glory days.
I mean, we could have called it, Podcast McGuire. That would have been a great miniseries title.
Yeah, it would have been great. but
Podcast McGuire.
We Pod a
You
Cast.
get it.
Look, the people wanted it. 47% voted for We Pod a Cast.
It's true.
And who am I to not listen to the public other than when we chose to do Cameron Crowe instead of James Cameron?
Whatever.
Today we are discussing the motion picture Jerry Maguire.
Jerry Maguire.
Jerry Maguire.
Yeah.
Hugely successful movie.
Huge. It's incomprehensible how big this movie was.
And it's especially hard to comprehend today because this is not a kind of movie that gets made by studios anymore. And when it does, no one goes to see it.
Imagine this movie getting made today. Imagine,
lunacy.
It could happen. I'm trying to think of a Tom Cruise level star today. I guess there's nobody. Nobody.
I'd argue there isn't one.
But say, if Chris Pratt decided to work with an actual artiste,
Yeah.
and make just a romantic drama that he wrote, he or she wrote, this artiste.
I think it'd do $25 million domestic.
It's hard to imagine it becoming this kind of a phenomenon.
Do you know what I think the last example of this is? The last film to function in this kind of way?
Yeah.
Unstoppable Will Smith coming off of 10 consecutive hits, making Pursuit of Happiness, which is nowhere.
Sure, but Pursuit of Happiness was not this kind of movie, even though it did very well.
But I'm just saying that was the last time where it was a star was so unbeatable that they could make a character drama and it played like a blockbuster.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're the same movie, but I'm saying I don't think there's anyone who has that kind of cachet today,
Jennifer Lawrence, maybe.
Possibly, but no one
And
saw Joy.
Yeah, but people saw the Silver Linings Playbook.
Yeah, but that was the one that made her.
What? No, she'd already been in the Hunger Games. What? No. The Silver Lining Playbook is a better example. I think that's a good example.
I think that
because it
film
got all
pushed
the
over
Oscar
edge.
nominations. She was already a huge deal. And it was a straightforward romantic drama. It was not, with comic elements.
I agree, but a lot of that film's on Coop, and I also think...
No, you're wrong.
But I
You're
also
dead
think
wrong.
that was part of her ascension.
Of course it was part of it, but, I think that's a decent example. Because The Pursuit of Happiness is a weepy. It's not funny at all. It's just a true
but I'm
based on
saying
a true
it's
story.
a star-driven drama with no,
This is not the
catchy
conversation
hook.
we need to have.
No, because to put this in context,
I don't like
you
this.
look at fucking Cruise's the 10 years leading up to this movie.
Yeah.
He was just unstoppable.
Yeah. He
I mean,
was.
that's the thing. The brand was so fucking strong.
Tom Hanks did something like this too, but Tom Hanks was he was always a comedy, star as well as a drama
And also
star.
that run ended. Tom Hanks was this guy also in the 90s. This is kind of my point, is that these two guys couldn't do this today. There's
Probably
a reason these two guys are doing more sort of genre-y films now.
Well, there's two very different reasons, I would say.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks, because he got a little older,
Yeah.
he became more of a dad.
Yeah.
And Tom Cruise because of some issues in his personal life.
But Cruise only does sci-fi now, essentially.
Yeah, because that's where we can buy him, or action. Like, we can buy him as an impossible person.
Yeah, and Hanks now, I mean, mostly does smaller scale kind of dad movies, but also, like, his bread and butter now is that fucking Dan Brown series.
Is that his bread and butter? It's just, I don't know why they make those, except for that they make money. But
which is so weird, because
it's they make, like,
them?
international money and stuff. But, like, do you really think Tom Hanks, like, calls Ron Howard and is like, let's do another Brownie. Let's do another Dan Brown.
I mean, honestly, they made
It'll be
3
fun.
of them. They made 3 of them, but I think it's like
they get to go to Paris, have some nice dinners, shoot a week in the Louvre. You know, like, hey, where are we going this time? Going to the Vatican? Great. I've been meaning to try this new place, you know? Yeah.
I also think, I mean, we're getting this conversation about the nature of modern stardom, which I think isn't that off topic because it's important. You know, this is what this whole movie is, like, peak stardom. Peak movie stardom.
Yes.
But I think modern stardom is tied into this thing that even if you're huge, if you're Jennifer Lawrence or you're Chris Pratt or whomever, you need to sort of have the, like, trees that you hang your hammock up on. Like, you need to, you know, the swing of your hammock is you taking the risk of doing something that might not work, but you know you have a fucking Guardians of the Galaxy or Jurassic World on either side.
I guess so. I also think it's just that the world is too big now, and it's like, it's harder for someone to dominate, you know, the culture in the same way.
And also dramedies, like, the everything's made internationally now. Everything's made internationally now, and the movies that sell well overseas are the ones that are super fucking visual.
I just love it. Inferno shot in Venice and Budapest. I just imagine, like, Tom being like, there's this place in Budapest with, like, poppy seed muffins I've been meaning to go to. Can we have, like, a week in Budapest?
Do you not see what I'm saying, though?
Yeah, I see what
that, like, I mean, yes, I think that's probably what happened. But the fact that, like, okay, no one sees fucking Hologram for the King, but Hanks is like, okay, I got a Brown coming. I at least know that's, like, an easy
I don't like
250
the phrase,
worldwide.
I've got a Brown coming.
I'm pushing out a Brown. I'm taking a trip to Browntown.
Okay. I'm gonna. So let's talk about Cruise. I'll just talk about Cruise very briefly, and then because this is a Cameron Crowe podcast, so we should talk about Cameron Crowe. But briefly,
when a film is this much about a movie star, we gotta contextualize a little bit, you know. And I think we did the same thing with Will Smith and After Earth. I'm not saying that Cruise had this level of authorship over the film, but this is like,
no, he did
the Tom Cruise movie. There's one other guy I want to talk about though.
James L. Brooks, but I want to talk about Cruise.
No, there's yet another guy I want to talk about.
Cuba Gooding Jr.?
One more guy.
Jonathan Lipnicki?
Benjamin Hosley.
Oh, yeah. Hey.
Are you typing, Ben?
I am.
I got a new.
I know. I got a new keyboard. It's a Dell, and it's really loud.
You going to get that typing out off the track?
Oh, I don't know. I think it's kind of nice ambiance, don't you?
Did you specifically ask for a louder keyboard?
No.
That, of course, is the clacking fingers of
the clacker.
Tip tapping away.
No, do not.
He's the tip tapper.
No,
I don't like tip tapper.
No,
because it's clacky.
Yeah, no. Let's be serious. He's only got a couple nicknames.
Oh, God.
Ben Hosley, producer Ben, Purduer Ben, the Ben Deucer, the poet laureate, the Haas, the Peeper, the Fuckmaster, the Tiebreaker, Birthday Benny. I'd say Mr. Positive, Hello Fennel.
Right.
Kylo Ben, producer Ben Kenobi, Ben Night Shyamalan, Ben Sate. Did I forget any?
Maybe. There's a bunch.
I think we got him.
He's not Professor Crispy.
No,
you didn't forget that one because he's not that.
Right, he's not that. But let's just contextualize one more thing now that the name's been brought up. Ben and I used to work on a podcast called Talking TCGS.
Okay.
Yep.
Recap show for the Chris Gethard show.
Okay.
Later existed a slightly different form, TCS After Party.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember how it originated,
okay.
but at some point we started a bit on Talking TCGS where we would ask our listeners to tweet things at Jonathan Lipnicki.
Oh, yeah. Yes, Jake. Yeah.
We'd give out sort of like code words, and we go like, if you agree or disagree, tweet hashtag at JLipnicki.
Right.
And the idea was that we would look at Jonathan Lipnicki's mentions to see what people wanted rather than look at our own mentions.
Okay.
Jonathan,
he blocked you for this
Yes,
offense.
he was not happy.
Yeah.
Every time people tweet stuff at him, he'd go, what the fuck is this? What are you doing? You crazy.
Yeah, it's all pretty fair.
Yeah, I don't know.
Harassing him.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I was young. I was naive. It was a different time.
You weren't that young. What is it, 2 years ago?
Yeah, TCGS was on public access. It was a different time. We didn't know. So I just, mea culpa.
Jonathan Lipnicki plays Ray in this film, Jerry Maguire. He was 5 years old.
Yeah, I mean, he's like a real 5-year-old in this movie.
It's a dynamite performance.
Incredible.
It's one of the best kid performances ever.
But you
But
know-
it's also definitive for like you see it and you're like, I don't want to see what that kid looks like
No.
when he grows up.
No.
I like the kid right now, and that's it.
Well,
And he stuck around, you know. Yeah.
The strength of the performance is that he's such a fucking kid in this
so
movie.
crazy, but
I
also
mean, he's those glasses.
Yeah.
you know, like you know how the kid in Say Anything is kind of just like you're like a bland kid. He's like fine, but he just
Yeah.
sort of runs around. Like this kid, it's like he's perfect because he doesn't look like all the parts of his body have grown at the right.
He's got weird proportions.
He's got a big head. He's
Yeah.
got a little body.
Huge
Sort
glasses.
of like huge glasses. He kind of lolls around. He's got like a really curious way of talking, but not like a. It's just funny. He has like
he's
natural
lispy.
rapport with
Yeah, and he also, I mean, here's some other factors. They dress him like a little adult.
Yeah, they dress him in like little button downs and
Yeah.
khakis.
Yeah, he's like a tiny gentleman.
Yes.
And,
the wardrobes of this movie.
oh,
are
incredible.
fucking amazing.
Incredible.
I wish we all looked like this right now.
Yeah,
I want to look like 90s businessmen and women.
but yes, agreed.
And Bonnie Hunt's costumes?
Come on.
Oh
Get
my
outta
god!
here.
And Cuba Gooding Jr. wears a wonderful ensemble in this.
Well, Alamo's wearing his birthday suit.
Yeah,
Alamo, he's showing off those pecs.
Yeah. That ass
He's showing off that ass.
and that shadowy crotch area, but we don't.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. You get like the V above the dick sometimes. Here's another thing about Jonathan Lipnicki, taking a harsh left turn from talking about the V above Cuba Gooding Jr.'s dick to a 5-year-old. But I feel like a lot of movies where there's like a 5-year-old, they cast like a 9-year-old.
Oh sure,
You know,
yeah.
and this is like you watch it like this is an actual
This is a kid,
5-year-old.
little kid. Yeah.
But there also is he feels so unstudied that like a lot of scenes where he's talking to Cruise, he's sort of like melting into the couch.
Yeah, definitely.
Like he's not sort of like leaning forward or keeping his head straight. Like he's always like a lot of the movies he's sitting and he's sort of like at weird angles.
He's funny.
And it's just like a kid and they placed him and he sat in that position and he just said stuff.
So, but let's talk about his scene partner and arguable equal, Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
So I just want
TC.
Tom Cruise in my opinion, this is the beginning of, or right at the start of the second great age of Cruise.
Yeah.
After the first great age of Cruise.
This is sort of the transition. This is like
Mission Impossible, in my opinion, is the transition. But
that's when he
yes.
becomes a franchise guy. Because for
Mission
years,
Impossible
yes.
is when he has his own company
Yeah.
and he picks his director.
Right, that was the first movie he produced.
Yes, that was the
And-
first Cruise Wagner production.
And the thing with Mission Impossible is everyone's like, when's Cruise going to get a franchise?
Sure.
He needs a marquee franchise.
We've had Cruise around. You know, he's a teen actor in the early 80s. He's in movies like Taps and The Outsiders and Risky
All the
Business
Right Moves.
and All the Right Moves.
co-starring
Leah Thompson.
and Tom Cruise's wiener.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Let's keep the dick talk down after that early burst. Right? You know, I feel like we lean too hard on it sometimes.
I don't know. I think people
like it. I know.
Yeah.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I don't want it to.
Are you
become,
embarrassed
like,
because they
overexposed.
quoted the dick thing in Podmas?
No, I love that.
Okay,
that was
good,
great.
Good.
And then he's got like the first stage of Cruise after Risky Business, right?
Yeah.
Which is when he's in movies like Top Gun, great.
Uh-huh.
But then he's making movies like The Color of Money and Rain Man, and Born on the 4th of July, where he's obviously like trying really fast to be like a big prestige player.
And seeking out American auteurs.
And
like
then at
new
the same
American
time,
auteurs.
making very silly movies
Days of
like
Thunder,
Cocktail,
Cocktail.
Days of Thunder, Far and Away, you know. And then, but on the other hand, you got like A Few Good Men. That's
But
so,
important thing to note.
no great movies here.
But-
a lot of good movies,
But
and fun
other
movies.
than Far and Away, all of these movies
all
are
huge
hits.
hits. All huge.
Far and
hits.
Away underperforms.
Far and Away was a hit. I think Far and Away did fine.
I think it underperformed to
For
expectations.
a movie about Irish people frolicking
Right.
in the countryside, it did okay.
But he was so unbeatable at that point, and there was like the Cruise Kidman thing.
Yeah,
but all
he's
the other
got
ones,
a
yeah.
big tabloid romance, and he's a marquee idol, and yada yada yada. And then so he's so big after all this, and then Interview with the Vampire is a big hit.
Right. All of
which-
these are at least triples, if not home runs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So then we're in the second phase of Cruise, which I feel like he's trying to sort of exert control at every level of the movie making process. So he picks De Palma, a crazy choice, to make the Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah, and sorry,
And
just,
that's the launch of his franchise.
just
there.
to clarify, at this point he has one Oscar nomination.
For Born on the 4th.
That's
of
the
July.
one he's gotten
Correct.
pre-Maguire. Okay, so then yes,
But
he
but
picks De
he
Palma.
gets robbed of them for, like Color of Money, Newman wins an Oscar.
Right.
He doesn't get nominated.
Rain Man,
Hoffman wins an
the
Oscar. He doesn't get nominated.
He keeps on sort
Few
of
Good Men,
alley-ooping people.
Few Good Men gets a picture, Jack
Yeah.
Nicholson, he doesn't get anything.
And then everyone thought he was going to win for Born on the 4th of July, and then, like, November surprise, here comes a little
Here
film
comes
out of
a
nowhere.
little man called Danny Day.
Yep.
Danny DL.
hits the scene and fucking
On the
cleans
DL.
up. On the DL.
No,
he
he-
slid into your DLs
Dear me.
like the Garfield meme. Slid in like gift field.
And then, so the thing is, after Jerry Maguire, which is maybe his biggest hit yet, it's crazy. Like, I mean, I think Mission Impossible might have made more money or whatever.
Top
but
Gun, I think, is still his biggest grosser at that point.
Maybe,
But Jerry Maguire's in the top like 3.
But I mean, also just in terms of like, it gets the Oscar nominations,
Yeah.
it gets the reviews, it has this like incredible long life on video and on cable, and
Yeah.
you know, it's so quotable.
Well, it's like, wait,
it's
like
kind of the Tom Cruise movie because he's just playing a guy.
yeah, and
He's not playing a fighter pilot or a
right.
spy or
and the
you
whole
know.
movie is Cruise. The whole movie, like it sinks or swims on Cruise.
And yet it's a great ensemble piece,
Right.
But then after
but
that,
this movie is like a 5-tool player. That's the thing you're getting
Exactly,
at. Is that it's
exactly.
like it's critically
laughs,
loved.
romance. You know,
It gets the Oscars. It's a huge financial success. Everyday people love it. Like it's like a
Exactly.
big mainstream success, and then it has a huge afterlife.
What does he do after this? Do you know?
The one right after this,
There's nothing right after this. What he does after this, he and Kubrick and Kidman link up. They go off to
Oh.
make Eyes Wide Shut for fucking, you know,
And he's-
endless years.
and he's out of the picture for like
He's
3
out
years.
of the picture, and everyone's like, "What's this movie?
Yeah.
What's this crazy movie gonna be?" But it doesn't even matter because he made Jerry Maguire, so it's like he never leaves. You know, it's just sort of echoing around.
Because then even after Eyes Wide Shut, which was so much more financially successful than it had any right to be because of the strength of Cruise, you know? Like anyone else in that movie would have made $2.
Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. My
Yeah.
God.
And it like opened to #1 at the box office, like 20 plus million or something.
Yeah, it was seen as a disappointment only by the standards of Cruise's stardom. Like,
Right.
by the standards of 3-hour orgy movies about
Yeah.
dreamlike journeys through fake Manhattan,
Yeah.
A-okay.
But then he goes,
But then after that, he makes
MI2, Vanilla
MI2,
Sky.
he makes Vanilla Sky, he makes Minority Report, he makes The Last Samurai, he makes Collateral.
Yes.
And thus ends the second age of Cruise, in my opinion, because then the third age begins, which is
War of the
defined
Worlds.
by
It's the marketing campaign for War of the World.
it's defined
PR
by his
disaster.
off-screen
Yes.
behavior.
Yeah.
And then he never recovers to quite the level we know him from.
No.
But he's still a big movie star, and he still often will make a good movie.
But here's a big
but
difference.
this right here, oh,
Yeah. I think now Tom Cruise movies almost do well in spite of Tom Cruise. Like when people sit in the theater and they watch it and they like him, then he's doing the magic. But I feel like movies now are sold in spite of him.
A
So I
little
feel
bit.
like Mission Impossible, they're like, well, I just like the franchise and I like the stunts.
yeah, and it's well executed,
Yeah.
and you know, and
He'll do anything, but it's
there's-
not sold on his
there's a
personality
weird
anymore.
self-awareness about like Tom Cruise is crazy. I mean, I've
yes.
often argued this. That's why the later ones work. is
They
because
argue that he's
the
an
movies are
insane
about
person.
how he's
Yeah.
so crazy. Now, I also think this is why. So.
And Edge of Tomorrow, I think the thing was like everyone was like, Tom
No,
Cruise,
no.
and then the concept was
Here's
so
my Edge of
big.
Tomorrow theory, because
Yeah.
it ties right to Jerry Maguire.
Yeah.
The reason both those movies work, and those are his two best films,
Well,
in my
they
opinion.
deconstruct the Cruise persona.
Exactly.
They're metatextual
They
films.
break him down.
Yeah.
They introduce you to Tom Cruise movie star, right?
Yeah.
Like, here he is. He's king of the shit.
Nope, bullshit.
And then in the first 15 minutes, they tear it all down.
Crumbles. And it's a facade.
Best.
They make him human by
And then
showing
he has
that it's
to
an
figure
act.
it out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. You want to see movies where Tom Cruise has to become Tom Cruise, whereas the old Tom Cruise narrative was, save for Jerry Maguire, most Tom Cruise movies were, this dude's the most awesome dude in the world.
Handsome man achieves.
He fucking rules.
like,
Other
think
people,
about, like,
yeah.
Top Guns like that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Top Gun has a little bit of, like, you got too much ego, but it's like, he's fine.
But the conflict in a classic old first wave Cruise movie is always that someone else doubts him. It's not
yeah,
that he
sure.
doubts
he
himself.
doesn't doubt himself.
It's people go,
right.
hey, watch it. And he's like, I'm fucking Tom Cruise. I know what I'm doing. And the third act is he wins everyone over, and then he succeeds more than he even was succeeding in the first two acts.
Obviously, a movie like Born on the 4th of July or Rain Man, which is a little more serious,
Yeah.
doesn't count. But movies like Top Gun, Days of Thunder,
Yeah.
like The Firm, well, The Firm is a thriller, but, you know, what's another one? Mission Impossible.
100%.
You know, that's the first one.
Cocktail.
Cocktail.
Yeah.
That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
A Few Good Men, absolutely. Like A Few Good
Yes.
Men is the best example of them
100%,
all,
yeah.
where it's just like, you're a lawyer, and he's like, yeah, I'm a good lawyer, and it's like, you seem like an asshole, maybe, but I'm a good lawyer. Are you gonna win the case? Yes. What happens? Wins the case.
This is maybe
The end.
This is the first movie
That's-
where it's like Tom Cruise movie star persona. Because Born on the 4th of July is like,
Yeah, he's playing a
him
character.
playing character.
He's
this
trying
is like
there.
cashing in on the Tom Cruise movie star persona, but it also is the guy struggling in a
Yes.
real way.
And,
internally. It's a self-created struggle.
And you buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the thing. It's tough, obviously. And we were talking about this on the Fletchcast, I remember, about actors like Ryan Reynolds, who are like, they're like so hot. You're like, I can't really buy this guy kind of having
a little
problem.
too slippery.
You know, I mean, I think this is the problem Crowe and Cruise make with Vanilla Sky later, where they're trying to be, again, like, woe is him, right? And you're like, I don't know. Like, but in Jerry Maguire, it works, where you buy it. You buy that he has failed, that he's collapsed, you know?
So let's talk about Crowe a little bit, because there's a big gap
Cam
between
Crowe.
singles.
Yeah, 5 years, practically. I mean, the singles came out in 92, but he made it in 91, sat on the shelf.
Does he just sort of, do you know what the backstory is? I mean, does he just sort of write this as a spec script? I mean, I know James L. Brooks is back as a producer on this one.
He is. He goes back to Gracie Films.
Right, and I feel like that was a lot of this movie getting off the ground, was the James L. Brooks' track record was so strong. I mean, as Ben was saying, dude just fucking prints money for like 20 years. Anything he picked was right on.
Pretty much. I
mean, the dudes
obviously
he chose to mentor.
We don't remember his failures, but that's because he had so many successes.
There was I'll Do Anything was a
I'll
big
Do
flop.
Anything is the one I think of.
But I'm just saying, even just in terms of like Simpsons, Cameron Crowe, Wes Anderson, like he was like picking winners.
I don't know the story of how this movie came to be, except for that Cameron Crowe wrote a movie about a sports agent, and James L. Brooks produced it, and Tom Cruise decided to make it. You know, I don't know that what if there is more detail.
That's
to that
the thing, because
story.
we talked about this last episode, but it's crazy that Cruise agreed to do this. Like, you go, okay, of course it makes sense. It's a great screenplay. It arrives on his doorstep. It's a perfect role for him. It's a defining role for him.
And also, Cruise is obviously very interested in working with big artists, because he picks De Palma, he picks Kubrick after this. Like, he wants like big voicey guys.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Crowe's not on
your
that level.
Away from that, yeah, I think you see the potential there, and this is the film that crystallizes the Crowe thing into like. I'm not saying this is a better movie than Say Anything or a worse movie than Say Anything.
It's a much better movie than Say Anything, because it's his best movie.
But
by far,
my point
and
is,
it's the definitive Hollywood movie of the last 20 years. I think, like basically.
Well, yeah, and it's a dinosaur. It's like
right.
It's
so great.
Yeah, and we were talking last week about
nothing
how
here. This doesn't matter.
It's
exactly.
I mean, this film is crazy. You just think that like
this movie is like a 2-hour, 20-minute romantic drama.
Yeah,
it's 140 minutes long.
So let's get into the plot of this movie.
It's crazy how long it is.
It's insane. But it is. I mean,
it's like a 6-act movie.
Yes, which I love.
Yeah, me too.
I think 3 acts are bullshit.
Fuck 3 acts.
Yeah.
There's a 3-act movie in the first 20 minutes of this movie.
Which is amazing. I mean, the first 10 minutes of this movie are like a speeding train. I also think, this film, Crowe hits the ground running, and he's sort of structuring this like a visual essay for like the first 10 minutes.
Sure, because he's narrating,
all these different elements
all these
coming
visuals,
in.
Yeah.
You have his mentor talking
very
direct address to the
well-edited
camera,
movie. Yeah.
which has always been his strength, but now he's really playing with the form, you know?
Yeah, you know who is supposed to play the mentor, right?
Who?
Billy Wilder.
Oh, that makes sense.
Who is Crowe's mentor.
Yes.
And he didn't, for some reason. Wilder said, "Get an actor." Basically, like I'm not gonna be as good.
Who is the guy? The guy's really good.
His name is Jared Jussum, who is not an actor. He just walked into a production meeting or into an audition, and Crowe and James L. Brooks were like, "This guy is the best because he's the best."
Well, that's like,
he plays Dickie Fox.
I love how in Moneyball, like 90% of the guys in the office working for the
are
team
just scouts.
Like, like when
they have that look.
Yeah, when Bennett Miller was just like researching and he was going around the office, he was like, "Yeah, you should just be. You know how to say this stuff."
Yeah, exactly. You know how to say 5-tool player, or know, like yeah.
And the scenes where the guys are yelling at Brad Pitt have this like metatextual strength to them, where it's like, well, these guys are explaining to Brad Pitt, the actor, that he doesn't know what he's talking about.
That movie is so great, and I recently rewatched it, and it's so great.
I love that movie, and I would actually say that movie is like the closest we've come to a Jerry Maguire type thing in a while. But you look at the difference of it didn't make the same kind of impact. It did well, but like that film is also like, that's a star-driven movie. Yeah. That's like a character drama about a guy having a crisis inside sports.
It has no
baseball.
romance. I mean, which is Jerry Maguire's key selling point.
It's also that film is. It's not
great, but
I love it. But it's not cynical, but the thesis of the movie is, like, you can't explain failure.
Sure.
It's about a man trying to fight a broken system and realizing that there's no way to fight it. It just, shit happens or it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You know? I love that movie.
Great movie.
Anyway, Jerry Maguire. The film starts...
I wish Foxcatcher was better. I tried to rewatch Foxcatcher. and I still was gripped by it.
There are incredible elements.
Yeah,
to
but
that
it
movie.
doesn't. It's not watchable. Like it's
I
not
don't
that
think-
watchable.
No, I don't think
I
so.
still think it's good though. I think it's a little underrated, but it's I don't know.
If it's underrated, because like it was simultaneously like people were shitting on it and like praising it way too much. Like people really like stuck to their camps on that movie, you know?
Yeah.
Miller,
make a couple more movies and we'll do a Miller miniseries.
Make more films.
Yeah.
That scene with the first scene with Tatum and Ruffalo wrestling is like unbelievable.
Oh yeah. The
There are like
opening.
scenes in the
But
film that are
what-
so
I
masterfully
agree.
directed.
But Jerry Maguire.
Maguire. Okay.
I'm sorry, it was my fault. I led us down that path.
Okay, let's talk about Jerry Maguire. So the opening of the film.
So it's don't do it ever, guys. Don't do it. Listen to those screenwriting. It's voiceover explaining things. You've got Jerry Maguire is saying like, I'm a sports agent. I'm a big shot. Here's me. There I am, Tom Cruise.
And it also allows you to like, I mean, he does a lot of showing, not telling. I mean, Jerry Maguire's talking about how he views his life, but underneath this, you're seeing bits of it. And you're able to extrapolate from that, like, this guy's a little too smooth.
That great thing where the athletes being like led off from cameras after obviously being accused of some sort of sexual assault charge.
He goes,
and
she was 16, not 15.
Something like that. And Jerry Maguire is like, the one thing we all know is this guy plays great football or whatever. You know, and you're like, oh God, he's awful.
But that's the thing they say, the reason they say don't use voiceover is that it's like telling, not showing, right? That's like, if you can't find a more graceful way to explain this. But this is why this film is so smart on so many levels. The use of the voiceover here is, we're going to have Jerry Maguire tell you.
He's selling you. Yeah, right.
He's going to tell you how he views his life.
Sure.
And you're going to see how his life looks from the outside and come to your own conclusions. So he's going like, I'm great. And you're watching it, you're going like, fuck this guy.
Well, here's what. So the inciting incident in this movie right at the start is that even though he's like, look at me, like, I work for these big sports stars and that's my job and it's great. He has this breakdown really early on after a hockey player gets injured and his son says "fuck you" to Jerry Maguire. It's
like his 17th concussion, and the doctor's like,
and he's like, I gotta get back on the ice. I need the bonus. I gotta get the bonus.
And the son's like, how many times can this happen before?
He's like, that Cruise is so good in this movie. Looking at his cell phone, being like, it would take all four like VR warriors. Like he's not even getting it right. He's just trying to like talk to a kid.
Yeah,
it's such a good scene. Who's that kid?
Drake Bell.
Right, it's Drake Bell. I knew
Josh.
it was someone famous.
Yeah,
he's so good.
Yeah, he just goes, fuck you.
I remember
he nails that line.
He does. He's great.
Because the whole movie hinges on that line.
So the initial incident is that Jerry writes this mission statement that's like, our industry's become so cynical and we should focus on less athletes.
He takes a long, hard look in the mirror and realizes that he's a fucking phony bullshit artist.
But then he immediately papers it back up. That's what I love about the movie.
Me too.
The whole movie is him figuring that out.
Yeah.
But it all happens in the first 20 minutes and then he starts to kind of try and like ignore it again.
He figures it out and doesn't know how to actually put it into action.
Sure, but I think his personality takes a longer time to change.
Right, because he doesn't know how to do it. Right, he understands what to be.
He's starting, self-awareness is creeping into his brain, but it's like, it's like taking a while to take hold.
Yeah, so he writes this like insane stream of conscious manifesto. Sure. He goes to Kinko's. He has them printed up with a cover that looks like Catcher on the Rye, which he brags about. Yep. He has it shipped to everyone in the office.
Whoa. Let's not forget about that copy guy.
Okay.
They have a cool exchange. Remember he talks about his balls?
Yeah. You hang your balls out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then like that.
I like copy shops.
Right. You like 90s technology.
Yep.
Are you drinking something with a bunch of ice in it?
Yeah.
This whole episode's you doing like Foley work. It's like you...
God damn it.
All right, keep going.
Are you just going to crunch ice in your mouth while we're talking?
So he's still on top of the world.
Yeah.
But what I love is, and this is all the opening credits are playing over the scene where he walks into the office and they all start clapping for him.
And he, by the way, called up and like he wakes up and he's like, oh, fuck, I shouldn't have sent that out. And he calls up and he's like, do you already send it out? And they're like, yep, sent it this morning. Right. And he's like, fuck.
He walks in the office. They all cheer him. And you cut to Donald Logue and someone else.
Yeah.
Donald Logue? How do you say
I go Donald Logue. I might be wrong about that.
I have no idea how you say his name. And they're like, how long you think, like about a week, we know he's done.
Yeah, he's cooked.
But I like that the fakeness lingers even through his like supposed calling out of the fakeness.
Yeah. And then I think shortly after that, we're introduced to Rod Tidwell Jr.
No. Shortly after that, we're introduced to Dorothy Boyd, played by Renée Zellweger.
Oh, my Lord.
In a star-making performance.
I mean, an
unbelievable performance. A wonderful performance.
Here's the thing. I've seen this movie too many times to count.
I've seen this movie like 200 times.
Yeah, you've seen it more than me.
Yeah.
You, before the episode, referred to it as your favorite movie.
It's maybe my favorite movie.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of just a movie you rewatch over and over and over again.
I know Renée Zellweger.
Sure. You know her ups and downs.
Right. But every single time I watch this movie, from the first time I watched it on VHS when I was like fucking 8, to like watching it, on my fucking Amazon X-Ray, on my Amazon Fire tablet last night. I go, who's this girl? Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
no, I know what you mean. Yeah,
it
You,
has
like,
this
sit up
lightning
straight.
in a bottle, star-making energy. Where it feels like, where the fuck did she come from?
Right.
Even though you know the 20 years that follow it.
Sure.
Which are ups and downs,
Ups and downs. She wins an Oscar.
Yeah, and I'm hoping she has a resurgence, because you watch her in this and you're just like, she's capable of so fucking much.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that that's going to happen.
I don't know.
There's not been a lot of evidence in like the last 10 years that she's sort of still got it.
She's made one movie in the last 9 years.
Yeah, I know.
I think. I mean, maybe 7, 6. I believe she hasn't made a film since 2009.
That sounds about right.
I think it's been 7 years. And she's got Bridget Jones 3 coming out, which is, talk about a hammock, it's her going back to her franchise.
That movie's going to bomb.
Yeah, but I don't know, Safe Space. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I mean, let's talk about Renee 96 and Jerry Maguire, who's fantastic.
Yeah.
No, we're introduced to her on the plane. Remember, her son is allergic to the blanket, and he barfs into a little barf bag.
Yeah.
And that's a great introduction to her.
Yeah.
Because it's like, so Janusz Kaminski shot this film.
Yeah.
And he loves just being right up against everyone's face in this movie. There's so many full face shots.
But that's also Crowe's style. I mean, all three of the movies have
Crowe
a
loves
bunch
that
of it.
too. Absolutely.
So at this point, the three cinematographers are Laszlo Kovacs, what's his name? Tak Fujimoto.
Yeah.
And just, I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
Murderer's Row.
But where I would say that those two guys that we just, the other, they did fine, but like those movies, like this is a visually distinctive movie. Janusz is having a lot of fun with this movie.
And I think he crystallizes a look, like a color palette that matches the energy of Cameron's performances and his actors.
It's
very
like
the dialogue.
broad.
Yes.
Like a lot of this is shot in like autumnal oranges and
it's
browns.
Warm. Yeah.
And then when Jerry's feeling sad, it's blue and dark and like,
and it's all
really
very
well
shiny
lit.
and slick.
Yeah.
I mean, this is very much a studio film.
Yeah.
Which is, if you tried to make this movie today, it would have a budget of $15 to $20 million.
Sure. Budget on this movie was 50.
Yeah. And that was 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it would have $15 to $20 million today, and it would be a lot more compressed, and a lot more sort of bootstrappy. And part of the success of this movie is it successfully portrays the scale of the world he lives in.
Yes.
Yes. From the clothing to the environments.
Yeah, there's all these like brands floating around.
Yeah.
Because he's obviously lives in this world of branding. And there's, ESPN is always floating. Like I love, like you're always like kind of, like into that. There's photographers everywhere. I don't know.
It's got
Jerry
a lot
Maguire.
of people and it's got scope to it. Yeah.
Big movie.
I read that apparently they made a deal with Reebok to like get a sponsorship in the movie so they could have the Reebok products. And
and then they dissed them in the
everything.
movie.
Yeah,
Fuck
100%.
Reebok.
They had a contract that said like, we will not only feature Reebok this much, but have a scene where the characters talk about Reebok in a positive way.
Right.
And they not only didn't include that scene, but also included a scene where people were like, fuck Reebok. And apparently they were like, oh, don't worry, it's in the TV edit. And on the TV edit, they include the scene they shot.
Sure, the
with
nice
the
scene
Reebok,
where they're like, love Reebok, good shoes from them.
Yeah.
I wear
commercial
the shoe.
break. Yeah.
I wear the shoe of Reebok.
Yeah.
No, so we meet Dorothy Boyd, who's this sort of accountant at, she's on a
cubicle
nobody,
monkey.
a peon, at SMI, the sports agency.
Uh-huh.
But Cameron Crowe is a genius, at least now he is.
Yeah.
Like, right, when he's making
just
that idea of like, she's in coach with her sick son and eavesdropping in on Jerry Maguire, like regaling his seatmate with the story of him proposing to his fiance, which is like the most like grossly awful story, which is basically like she insulted him while they were rock climbing, and then so he didn't propose, but then they like got caught by a surprise like engagement party.
Have we met the fiance at this point on screen?
No, but Dorothy says whoever snagged him must be some classy broad, and then you cut to like a absurd sex scene where the dog is watching them have sex,
which I feel like
she's like the never stop fucking me sex scene.
I feel like it was one of the first like non-comedic sex scenes I'd ever seen in a movie.
Sure, right.
That probably says to me like
it's a little comedic, but I mean like it's more
the other
just
sex
like,
scenes I'd seen were fucking Austin Powers. You
No,
know what I'm saying?
I get
Where
you,
it's
I get
just
you.
like goofballs McGillicuddy.
They are having sex.
I mean, I thought all sex was the scene in Hot Shots Part 2 until I was like 7 or 8. Like I was like,
Sure.
oh, you need a diving board? Are you kidding me?
Right.
It's so expensive. You got to do this every time. But this was like one of the first movies I saw where like it's a joke because of the editing.
I mean, I think it's
the juxtaposition.
It's not like a big joke. It's more like you're just like, oh, like this is almost a very performative relationship on both of their parts.
Played by a very aggro Kelly Preston.
Yeah.
They're both Scientologists.
Fourth build. They are, yeah. She is John Travolta's wife to this very day.
Which is an element of the Scientology thing of just like, I'm going to exude supreme confidence and control of my environment and put up a real wall, you know?
Yeah. I mean, she's good.
Yeah.
In the movie.
But I think she fits into the Tom Cruise thing very well because they both come from a similar kind of environment of just like, you know?
I see what you're saying, but
yeah.
I mean, I think Crowe isn't doing that. But I mean, I know what you're saying.
No, I'm not saying it's an intentional thing, but I think that's one of the reasons.
If you ever
why
wanted me to
so
be
well
with a
this
woman, I would do it. Like that, like, and he.
And
like,
that's another one of those things. It's a tight close up. She's delivering
close up on each of their
straight down the
faces.
barrel of the lens. Yeah.
And like, there's this. I think this sort of like it's like there's so many parallel storylines about the same. Like it's like Jerry is realizing like this is the kind of like person I want to be with if I'm part of that whole sort of puffed up. Like, it's just, everything is so performative.
Right, yeah.
And, like, she's very performative. Like, you don't have any real sense of her personality. She's more just, like, impressive.
Yeah.
And, like, she's very proud of how impressive she is. She keeps saying that she's, like, brutally honest.
Yeah.
And it's, like, the most ridiculous thing you ever heard. She's obviously, the opposite.
Lying to herself entirely,
right.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Anyway, but it's a, you know, it's a good, funny scene.
It's a funny scene, yeah. This movie is, I mean, aside, not just the fact that it sort of has this 5-act structure, but this is one of those films that really feels like a novel. Like, watching it, I have such a hard time going, like, so he just sat down and wrote this screenplay?
It is hard to imagine how he plotted this out.
Right, and not just because it's really good, and it's hard to believe that anyone can pull something off.
Yeah.
It's very unusual. It's got no clear hook to it, you know?
Right.
It's just a ride you sort of go on, and it goes on all these different little tangents, and it's sort of got all these subplots, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's all this one guy, but you're seeing his life through like 4 or 5 different prisms until it all finally comes together in the last moment. But it's like, you know, a romantic comedy where there are long stretches that aren't about the two of them, where they don't get together for a very long time in the film, you know?
Well, and then they get together right away and get married.
Right, which is unbelievable.
And when that happened, Joanna watched it, my girlfriend was just like, wait, what? They just got married? And like the movie starts jumping through time much faster, but we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
We are jumping through time.
Yeah.
So there's that scene where it's his engagement party with all the athletes, and they show this video of all his ex-girlfriends, including a young Lucy Liu.
Yeah, I didn't recognize her.
Yeah, she's hard to, because where they're all just like, he can't be alone. He can't be alone.
Yeah.
He can't be alone. Like, you know.
Can't be alone.
Love you too. Hey, love you too.
Yeah.
And then he gets fired.
Yeah. By the great Jay Mohr.
Playing Bob Sugar. What a name for a character.
Unbelievable.
Good at naming characters. Bob Sugar, Dorothy Boyd, Jerry Maguire. These are good names. Rod Tidwell.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Jay Mohr, Ben?
Well, this is his big.
This is his breakout.
Big role.
I feel like he's already been on SNL at this point. Am I right in saying this?
It was already fired from SNL at this point. And this is when everyone was like, maybe he's a movie star instead?
Right. He had done the two. Yeah, that's the thing. Hollywood was just like, come on. This guy's got something.
There's something here.
He's wildly jerky in that way that they love.
He's a great asshole.
He's a great asshole. I mean, that's what he's...
And he's good in this role at being an asshole.
Yeah. Have you ever seen on the DVD, I've watched every single extra on the DVD, there's like an extended play of him doing the cell phone monologues.
Jay Mohr?
He just did that for a half hour.
Yeah.
And it's just Denalog will come in, pass him a new cell phone. He'll be like, hey, baby, hi. And it's all improvised, or he's just like random, and they just shot that forever.
Yeah.
And then cut it in for this like big cell phone war that they have.
You do see watching this movie how like Sony execs, like, the people watching the dailies, the people on set could be like, this guy's fucking popping,
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, in that movie, the guy who has, because he's kind of playing a baby Tom Cruise in the movie. I mean, that's sort of his whole function in the film, is that he's like a little mini Tom Cruise.
Sure, absolutely. That's the idea. Is he's some sort of like usurper.
Right, so you look at it and you go like, well, this guy's got a lot of charisma, and he's pulling off this thing, and he's holding his own against Tom Cruise in this big film.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the problem is, like, he's not a leading man, even though he is, like, kind of a handsome guy, and he's got a lot of charisma, and he's funny and charming.
Sure.
He's charming in this way that's a little upsetting.
No, absolutely. And
yeah.
when you don't even have to think about it, like Jerry will later be like, that's Snake. And you're like, yeah, there's something wrong with him.
Yeah.
Like, he has no soul.
Yeah, I mean, the key is, the reason why he's so good at playing assholes is he doesn't play them like they're an asshole. Like, a lot of assholes, especially in comedies, the guy is clearly judging the character. He's like, yeah, I'm playing the asshole.
Sure. Right.
And you feel like Jay Mohr is just like, yeah, I mean, Bob Sugar wants to succeed.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Like, the guy's slippery, but it feels like you get what he's trying to do. He's just trying to, get his foot on the ground, planted. Yeah.
And if he has to steal an SNL sketch from someone else, he'll do so.
Yeah.
Right. I think it probably is not that far off for him.
That's what I think. The only movies that Cruise has made that were more successful than Jerry Maguire are the 5 Mission Impossible movies, except for 3.
And Top Gun?
And War of the Worlds.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I also just want to mention, I definitely noticed that Jay Mohr hadn't had any work on his teeth yet.
Yeah, he's got those little baby chiclet teeth in this movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, wait.
I always...
Oh, no. The Mohr, Jay Mohr. Wait, what was I going to say?
The scene where they go to the restaurant and he fires him is great.
That's what I was going to say. I love what it was following up on your point, where he's just like, you said less clients. You said less money.
Yeah, what are you expecting?
What do you think's going to happen? Like, he just can't even sympathize. And then he's like, have some sympathy for me. I have to fire my mentor. This sucks for me. Like, heartlessly.
But it's also, the movie is moving so fast at that point, right? And it's got music, and it's got narration, and you're cutting to Lev Grossman, or what's his name? Not Lev Grossman. Lev Grossman's fucking Tom Cruise in Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, Dickie Fox.
Dickie Fox.
Yeah.
You're just fucking moving and shaking, and it's like a music video and whatever. Mm-hmm. And then the scene where Jay Mohr goes, so you're fired.
And then there's that cut to the water glass.
Yeah.
The hold on the water glass. Obviously, is Jerry's like, should I just throw this in his face? Like, I mean, like,
And it's not like the sound drops out, but like all the sort of backing track, like it just becomes the scene, and then they're cutting to the sort of other people at the restaurant talking. It's not people looking at him. Yeah.
Came here to fire you, Jerry.
Yeah. And
this is happening. You should say something.
But the movie just sort of slows down, and it's like, okay, this life that he was on, this constant like sort of speeding train, is now slowed down, and now Jerry Maguire has to look in the mirror and be like, who the fuck am I?
Well, first he has to go back to his office and try and salvage his clients as he's being fired.
Unbelievable scene.
Crazy scene.
You know what?
And this is the thing. The movie is like all good movies. It's grabbing you by the hand and just sort of pulling you along. It's like, this is going to happen now.
Another thing with this movie, a reason why it's a great movie, every single scene in this movie is good.
I agree.
Like, every scene in
There's
this movie...
There's no scene where you're, like, sort of looking at the watch. Like, okay, I get it. This performs a perfunctory function, but, like, I'm not interested in this scene.
It's well executed. It's beautifully shot. It's well edited. The performances are incredible, top to bottom. But also, from a writing standpoint, every scene in this film has its own interesting dramatic tension.
Yeah, man.
There's some weird kind of energy going on each scene where you're kind of on the edge of your seat, you know? And I feel like most of the movies that become infamous as sort of these like cable movies and these VHS movies that people would watch over and over and over again, like Shawshank, there's this thing where it's like these scenes just have some sort of pulse in them, scene by scene basis. If you catch it on TV, you're going to watch it to the end, because there's no one scene where you go, let me flip around and see what else is on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's every scene in this movie is great, but he goes back to the office.
He starts calling his clients, and this is a beautifully edited action sequence, essentially, where he's like, I can cut your rate to 7%, and Jay Mohr is on the other end being like, you can't leave, like, we're the big boss, you can't, he said I didn't like black, I'm Mr. Black people. That thing where it's like, in the movie is immediately poking at, like, these are shrimpy white guys. That's something I wanted to say. Yeah. And it's true in the engagement sequence earlier, the engagement party sequence. Mm-hmm. This is a movie where Tom Cruise allows himself to be small.
Yes.
He's very small in the movie, partly because obviously he's acting alongside athletes, like big people. But he lets himself be shrimpy.
Yes.
You think, like, that guy's 5'8", or whatever. He's like, what is he, 5'6", 5'7"?
Oh, he's my size, yeah. Yeah, he's 5'6". Yeah. If not smaller.
And it's great because he obviously isn't as worried about it, maybe because Cameron Crowe has convinced him not to be worried about it, maybe because of the athlete thing. But it just looks so good.
But I think it was also like, I need to tear you down so I can build you up.
Right.
And you love Tom Cruise in this movie more than you've loved him ever before because you sort of had to take the blocks out. Yeah. But yes, there is that thing of like the moment, like, what are you talking about? I'm Mr. Black.
Where you're like these shrimpy little guys, these shrimpy dorks in their like 90s sports jackets are like representing these like, a lot of like athletes who are African American, like a lot of athletes who are obviously a lot younger than them, are in a different place in society, in the world, in their consciousness.
But also it's like the mere fact that you're saying that is proof that you're not.
Of course.
Anyone who self-identifies as Mr. Black.
I'm Mr. Black people.
Right. It's like, well, then you're categorizing and you're separating them and you're thinking of them as other than yourself.
And then, of course, Jay Mohr is doing the opposite thing where he's just being like, hey, yo, what's up? He's trying to be like,
But I find it interesting that Mr. Black person line, Mr. Black people line is like, that feels like there's this ring to that scene. I think he nails it from a performance standpoint, but there's a ring to that scene where I'm like, this feels like something Tom Cruise would have said in 2007. Like he's never gotten in trouble racially, but it feels like one of those weird things he'd say once he was sort of like collapsing.
Absolutely.
As a movie star. I'll say I've been watching OJ Made in America.
Okay.
The ESPN.
It's amazing.
5-part
I rewatched all 5. Yep.
And I like watched an episode of that and then watched Jerry Maguire and then watched another episode of that. And it's like cushioned in between.
Yeah.
And I think this film in its own way deals with the weird dichotomy between the sports industry, the management of these teams, the management for the players, these companies all being these old moneyed sort of rich white guys or like new money kind of yuppie assholes.
Sure.
And it's all in service of these like, young, sort of like just sort of gifted, black men, these men who are just handed this amazing ability and then work really hard and know they have like 8 years.
Sure. Yeah, you got to get your money fast because especially in a game like football, obviously
to work it,
you'll be retiring in your early mid-30s.
Right.
And if you haven't banked all millions and millions of dollars, what are you going to do? Like, maybe you'll work in TV, maybe,
But there's this thing in OJ Made in America where it's like all these old white guys who they're talking to who are like Brentwood friends of OJ.
Yeah.
And it's like they wouldn't have looked at him before he became the juice. And the second
I know what you're saying.
It fell apart. They were like, well, fuck him. He always was a problem.
Well, right at the end. Right.
Yeah. I'm not saying they shouldn't have turned against O.J. Simpson. But the beauty of this movie is like, this is one agent dealing with one player as a person. Like he learns how to just
journey
view
he has
him.
to take, and we'll talk about it because, of course, the tension is that, all right, well,
he
so
stops viewing him as a commodity.
He has this big phone call with Rod Tidwell, who is played by Cuba Gooding Jr., an Oscar-winning performance.
Right.
And Rod is kind of like it's the thing that's so prevalent in sports today, in all sports today, is like an athlete with a quote-unquote attitude problem, which like can be a very coded phrase. But it can also just mean someone who, maybe like doesn't gel with a team in some way or another. And like Rod seems to just have a big chip on his shoulder about like, oh, I wanted more money. Like, I don't have enough money. I'm really good at this. Like, and I think an agent's job, and that's the dynamic in this movie, is often like to kind of tell the guy, hey, like, stop yapping. Like, you just got to be quiet. You got to be nice. As Rod says, you have to tell him to dance.
Yeah.
You telling me to dance?
Right.
And,
but there's this dynamic of like,
and so he has this long call with Jerry.
He's a good player.
Yep.
He may even be a great player.
Right.
He's definitively not a star player.
No.
Like,
he's like a wide receiver.
Don't like him. Yeah. Not they dislike him, but they don't feel that sort of rush. And Jerry Maguire is in the business of trying to make people love athletes.
Well, sure, because that's the whole point of getting them endorsements and
Right.
so on and so forth.
He doesn't
which
care
is
if they
like,
win games or not. You know, that he doesn't make money per game. He makes money for them renegotiating contracts.
Yeah.
And people are going to get a bigger contract if they sell merchandise,
Yeah.
if they get people in the stadium. People get in the stadium because they see the players that they love. And Rod Tidwell isn't loved, you know?
No, he is
There's
not.
a line I love.
He thinks he should be, maybe,
Yeah.
but, yeah.
Regina King, who is unbelievable
Regina
in this movie
King,
as
who
well.
should have won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress.
I mean, really should have.
Yep.
Watching this, I
Yep,
was really
absolutely.
taken aback.
Absolutely.
It is actually insane that neither Zellweger nor King were nominated.
Well, Zellweger was campaign supporting, which is ludicrous.
Yeah.
She should have been campaign lead,
But she got
but
supporting.
she was a big, small, not
Right.
a big star yet, so they pushed her in supporting.
She got supporting nominations at the Globes and the SAG Awards, I think.
I'll look it up. I think she got a SAG, but that's right at the start of the SAG Awards.
Yeah.
When the SAGs were weird.
I think she was nominated Best Supporting for the Globes and the SAG. But yeah, Regina King is
Phenomenal in this
fucking
movie.
phenomenal in
She plays
this movie.
Rod's wife.
and also just a great actress that we
But
don't
wait,
appreciate.
we're not
enough.
doing the Rod phone call with the "Show me the money."
Oh,
I don't
so
know if
let's
you've
do-
heard that line.
Let's do the phone call. No, I mean, yes, I have.
It's a good line.
Yeah, the thing I wanted to say, I mean, I'm skipping ahead because I don't remember which scene it comes in, but when one of the scenes where Regina King comes in to sort of renegotiate with Rod,
Mhm.
with her husband, and she says, like, I have a marketing degree, Jerry. My husband has a marketing degree.
Mm-hmm.
It's, like, never mentioned again, but the idea that, like, he
He came to
understands how this works.
Yeah.
He knows the kind of guy he needs to be. He knows how he should be positioned. And what he doesn't understand is how to become the guy that can do this.
Renee
And
only
he
got
blames.
SAG. She didn't get
Really?
a Golden Globe.
Crazy. Okay,
It
so
didn't even get a screenplay nomination at the Golden Globes.
that's
just
that makes
weird.
I mean, this is like the most written movie of all time.
The only reason this thing didn't win Best Screenplay at the Oscars is because it lost to Fargo. Like,
Yeah.
that's the only reason it didn't win, because it lost to one of the best screenplays ever written. Like,
I mean,
whatever.
yeah. Well, I mean,
And also, yes, it's a very, of course, florid, like flowery screenplay with lots and lots of
Yeah,
of
it's a
big,
writerly
famous dialogue.
yeah. Make sure we talk at the Oscars again at the end of this because I have a thing to say. But okay, so on the phone call, he's going through all these people, and then he
They're
lands
all
on.
rejecting him.
There's the gymnast scene, which I really like.
very
where
funny
she's
scene
crying,
where she's crying and then goes like,
collating,
like,
and she goes, "Jerry, this hurts me more than it hurts you."
Yeah.
Hello, still Jerry.
Ah! Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
And then Rod actually wants to talk to him because, he's a B-level star,
Right.
essentially. Like, he wants to, he feels like he deserves more attention.
Rod also likes having an audience. Rod's always performing. I mean, it's like he's around his house. He's always got
Such a
an
good
entourage.
scene.
I mean, he's got
Because
Ari Spears as little brother, but there's always like people around Rod, and he's always sort of put on a show for them as much as he is trying to push something. Incredible scene.
It's such a good scene. Show me the money.
Right, so it's like you get the sense that while Bob Sugar is just peeling him off, going through call after call
Right.
after call,
But Jerry can't let him go because he's like, well, I do at least have him on the phone.
that's the
Like,
thing.
he hasn't rejected me.
yeah.
And
He's frustrated. He wants to get the. I mean, this talks about every scene has
So
like a
good.
couple different types of tension going
It's
on.
so tense.
There are dynamics, there are conflicts,
and you're
there's
watching
power
the call
struggles.
lights flicker out
Yeah.
on his switch,
on
on
his
phone.
awesome ass old school office phone.
I swear to God. There are some 90s computer monitors in this movie, Ben. There are some fat computer monitors.
I know. I was watching and I was pleased.
You know, it's the one
I
I,
feel like
love.
Ben like jerks off to
Yeah, me
90s
too.
technology.
Yeah, the
Hey,
one,
no, that's an outrageous statement, David.
All right,
I
fair
don't
enough.
jerk off.
It's just I was watching them.
we're gonna hear Ben jerking off in the background of this episode after all the Foley work he's doing.
What were you gonna say?
There's the one laptop they show where the screen, the actual display of the screen is like 1/4 of the actual size of the
Yes,
screen.
I had a laptop.
where it
Slow
has
down,
the
slow
big
down, slow down.
border.
Yeah,
I said, Ben, that the border,
No,
there's
come
the
on.
plastic
Uh-huh.
border around.
Right.
we
right,
haven't
right,
even
right.
gotten out of the first half hour of the movie. So there's the big phone call war.
Yeah.
Jerry loses. He gets one client out of it, Rod Tidwell.
And he gives
After
him
saying, "Show me the money."
He says, "You gotta show me the money. That's what you gotta do."
Show me the money. And
I
like
love black people!
that great cut to like, outside of the office.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, what the fuck is he doing in there? It's
Yeah.
and it's like pathetic. And then he goes out into the office and
He
announces
gets one more. You're forgetting.
No, he doesn't get Kush till later.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't
Sorry.
get Kush
Sorry.
till
Sorry.
later.
Sorry.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
I
He has
yes.
to
I
go
now I
to
remember. Yes.
Kush's
Yes.
office.
I
You
apologize.
should apologize.
I'm very sorry to our listeners. I have let you down once again.
He goes out and he gives a speech. I mean, Cruise is incredible in this movie. I kept like yelling at the screen, like, look at him, look at him, look at what he's doing here. Every time he goes like, fine, fine, fine. Like he's so great at like letting his emotions suddenly like, unleash and then like hiding them again.
Well, it's
the thing where he's like, I know what you think I'm going to do, which is flip out. And he...
It's not just that he allowed Crowe to make him look small in this way, but he also
Empathetic,
allows him to look bad. Like, he just looks like he doesn't have it together.
Sweaty and like kind of, uncollected.
And every Tom Cruise movie previously has been about, this guy's got it together.
Sure, and if it's about how he doesn't have it together, it's because he may look perfect.
Yeah.
He may dress perfect, but inside there's something bothering him. But not outside.
Yeah, right.
But this movie like kind of makes him look like shit.
He's embarrassing himself.
And so he leaves, and because she's so moved by his plight and was so moved by his memo,
he goes,
Dorothy
who's coming
Boyd,
with me?
we forgot to mention there's that cute little meet cute they have at the airport where Dorothy's looking for Lipnick.
And Lipnick is on the
He's on the carousel, giving
He's on
people
the
high
luggage
fives.
carousel.
So they've met. So she's like,
His
I will
arms
go
are
with
so
you.
funny in this movie. He's got
Little
the
T-Rex
funniest
arm.
little T-Rex
Little
arm.
chubby T-Rex arm. So she goes with him.
Yeah.
Like she makes the foolish decision to like quit the company and go
Yeah.
with him. And then that's sort of the start of the movie.
Yeah.
Like 35 minutes in.
Almost 40.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing.
And that's it's like, okay, first act done, but it's also kind of like first and second act done. Like,
yeah.
It's so good. Need a cigarette.
He's starting his own. You don't smoke.
No, that's true. I've never smoked a cigarette in my entire life.
Me neither.
Yep.
I've only smoked fake ones on camera.
And don't start.
Yeah.
guys.
gonna.
And to all our
I
listeners,
won't.
don't
I'm not
start.
going.
It's
I mean,
a
that's,
terrible habit.
You're hearing the raspy, cigarette-burned voice of producer Ben Hosley over there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Heed his warning. They start this sort of outlaw agency. That's just going to be the two of them.
But to secure its future, he goes to try and get the support of Cushman. Cush, played by Jerry O'Connell,
Yeah.
looking pretty hot.
Yeah.
Is Sliders happening yet, or is Sliders post
I believe not yet. I think Sliders is maybe
When does he
right
slide into
after
Sliders?
this. He slid into our TVs like 1997.
As Quinn Mallory.
I'd guess 97.
No.
96.
95. Sliders has already happened.
Oh wow.
So anyway, and Cushman.
And his father's played by an uncredited Beau Bridges.
So good.
The great Beau Bridges. The always underused
Stronger
Beau
than
Bridges.
oak.
Yeah.
So the Cushman dad is like, I'm going to stay with you.
Yeah.
And shakes his hand. And again, Cruise, just that manic little like he does. It's so good. I love it.
But see, this is the one film we're talking
He
about
shakes Beau Bridges.
how the greatness of the modern Tom Cruise, like the modern era of Tom Cruise films, is that they acknowledge everything that we find weird about Tom Cruise and use that to their advantage.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first film to do that. To be like, he seems a little too together. Like something weird's going on.
Right.
And
This
all the
guy's
scenes,
almost like an alien.
Right,
Yeah,
the scenes where he's putting the moves on, it's like he's putting a little too much spin on the ball, you know?
Well, and that's sort of the crazy plot line of the romance in this movie.
Yeah.
Which is that it's almost like he's some sort of like gazelle that got wounded.
Yeah.
And then Renée Zellweger, who's kind of like a bit of a homebody and is a single mother and like doesn't go out with guys much because she's a single mother.
Yeah.
Is kind of like, oh, this guy's so vulnerable and hot and charming, and I'm
Yeah.
so moved by his mission statement. Maybe I can actually like get with him because
Yeah.
he's just so vulnerable.
He's really
because there's that
an
scene
elope-
early
yeah.
on where she's like, "You need to be alone,
Yeah.
alone."
Yeah. And let's not forget Bonnie Hunt, the great Bonnie Hunt,
She's so good.
plays Renée Zellweger's sister,
Laurel.
who hosts like a women's group, a
Divorced
divorced women's group. One of the members of the group is Cameron Crowe's mother,
Yeah, she's great.
who also she's in the last two films.
Is she?
I think she's at the dinner party and Say Anything, and in
Pops up in the
Singles. She plays.
She's like his good luck charm.
I think she plays maybe the receptionist at the boob.
I don't
clinic
remember
or
the
something
movie
like that.
Signals.
Oh yeah, it's a film from 1991.
It's literally been flushed
directed by-
out of my brain.
Yeah, Cameron Crowe.
Yeah, do Cameron Crowe?
92. Yeah. Anyway, whatever.
Anyway, but he gets the Cushman contract.
Yes.
And so he goes to the house. He's like, we got Cushman. We're okay.
And Beau Bridges is like, I said to myself,
If he shows,
he
if he
comes
shows,
in
we'll stay
and he's
with
got
him.
the fire, and he's like, Jerry, we're sticking with you. You don't have to give us the cell. We're sticking with you. And he like breaks down, and he's like, I said, if you showed up, if you flew out here, we'd stick with you.
Right.
And it's like, okay, he's got two.
But yeah, now
Like the two friends. 1, 2. He's
two
got
friends. But
two clients.
are they two friends?
Well, that's the question.
But now the movie's like, hey, we actually have another lead character, this Dorothy Boyd. Let's cut over to her.
Yeah.
Let's do this. She's got a sister. She's got a divorced women's group.
She's hunting.
She's
Bonnie hunting.
She's Bonnie hunting. She's got a little Ray.
Yeah.
And her sister's like, why have you quit your job to like throw in with this guy? Like, you need a healthcare plan. You have a son.
And she's like, I just want to be inspired.
She's so fucking good. I'm the oldest 26-year-old in the world. Renee nails all this stuff. This is the secret with Cameron Crowe. Maybe not, his writing's gotten bad, but I do feel like the wrong actor with these monologues. It's a disaster.
Yeah. But it is. I mean, he made movie stars. I mean, it was amazing. He both would crystallize stars, you know, and make them. He'd create them and he'd deconstruct them and build them up even bigger than they were before.
Sure.
God, she's fucking good in this movie. What was I about to say? I'm the oldest 26-year-old in the world.
Oldest 26-year-old in the world.
Yeah.
I've had 3 lovers in 4 years, and then Bonnie Hunt goes, not bad.
Yeah.
And they were all like, preferable to all of them was like a nice warm bath or whatever.
Oh, we did forget to mention that Eric Stoltz is at the party, the engagement party.
Everybody loves you.
3 for 3.
What's the line? It's everybody loves you.
Yeah.
I can't remember that. It drives me crazy. Something like that. He has like a one-liner.
Yeah. Oh, this was the story I was going to tell. This is what I was going to say. I remember reading some interview with Renée Zellweger and talking about how she got that part because she had done little bits and pieces.
Chainsaw Massacre 3
the Next Generation, The New Beginning. It's the one
with McConaughey.
Right.
Yeah.
And she had like, you know, a non-speaking role in Dazed and Confused. I mean, she was like a Texas girl and she was doing some of the local Texas films.
Yeah, she's in a second of Reality Bites. She's in Love in a 45. She's in Empire Records.
Right.
Yeah.
That was her biggest thing up until now. Yeah. But this was definitely like, to be the second lead in a Tom Cruise movie was like a huge jump up.
Oh, you think so? Yeah. I agree with you.
Yeah. Apparently, they did the final screen test. She went in. She did it with Tom Cruise. She read the lines. And she felt like she did well. And she walked out and she remembered that her agent said to her, so the thing they're concerned about, just so you know, not to get in your head about, but the thing they're concerned about is if there's enough sexual chemistry between you and Tom. They think you're great on your own.
Yeah.
But they think, for some weird reason, you're not having sexual chemistry with Tom Cruise. You, a woman, are not connecting with Tom Cruise, a man.
Carry on.
And she walked out, and that, like, rang in her head. And the audition had ended. She had left the room, and she ran back into the room and just, like, pounced on Tom Cruise. Like, the audition ended,
I did not know this
and
story.
she ran back in and just fucking jumped into his arms and started making out with him.
Okay.
And then, like, was like, I just wanted to show you that we had chemistry together. And then walked out, and they were like, that's our star.
Renee!
And there is that feeling of, like, there is a ferocity to this performance. Not that it's an aggressive performance, but there's...
No, because she's somewhat of a downtrodden character, at least on paper.
But there is a ferocity of, this is my chance, Renée Zellweger, the actress, to show everyone what I got.
And Dorothy
She's attacking it. Right, which maps onto Dorothy Boyd, which is like, this is my shot to get my life together. And it's nice.
It's nice.
It's nice. It's a nice movie.
So, but then, you know, we've got a big sequence at the NFL draft where Jerry realizes that he does not have Kush. No. Sugar has Kush.
Sugar has Kush.
Because Sugar intimidated them into thinking like, you know, the teams aren't going to deal with Jerry. You got to deal with me or whatever happened.
Yeah. He's like, if you want to get on the team, Jerry's not the guy for you.
Jerry walks Rod through the lobby and introduces him to people, and that's nice. Like, that's a fun little...
Because Rod's like, why don't you fucking spend time with me? He's like, here's my time on you.
Rod gets it. I mean, Rod does say, like, you know, your golden meal ticket. You know, he knows that Kush is the big product.
But Jerry's also sort of going like, hey, I'm thinking big picture. I know people like you when they meet you.
Sure,
so I'm going to have you press the flesh and impress people because you're charismatic.
Yeah.
You're not connecting with the audience, but these people might like you if they get you one-on-one. So long montage of them going around, and it works. It feels like it works. It feels like people are getting into Tidwell. Then he goes back to the hotel room. Kush is just sitting there. He's got a Team Kush hat on.
He's
fucking
playing
noodling
Kush
on the guitar.
Yep.
Yeah. And he's got a mountain of Reebok sneakers, and a guy comes off, drops off room service, and he goes, hey, what size are you? 7.5. He goes, why don't you take a couple at the door?
He says 12.5, which...
Okay. I said 7.5 because that's my shoe size.
But when I
because I'm a Tom Cruise sized person.
When I hear that, I'm just like, 12.5? That's a big foot. Yeah, jeez. There are 4 12.5s?
Yeah, how big is your foot?
10.5. I have small feet.
Oh, really? Yeah, because you're a very tall man.
I am. I have small feet for my height.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Although O'Connell's big, right?
I think so.
I guess 12.5 if you're in the world of professional athletes.
Yeah, but it's a bellhop. who takes the fucking. It's a bellhop.
It's surprising the bellhop has.
You know,
feet
my
that
brother like kind of knows Jerry O'Connell.
Really?
Let him tell you the stories sometimes. He broke to. You let him tell the.
big. We should have Joey on as a guest sometime.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
This should have been a good one. He's seen this one a lot, but 100% we'll have Joey.
Yeah, we should do that. Yeah.
He's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got some because Jerry O'Connell's done a lot of Broadway plays. It's funny.
I know, and your brother Joey
works in theater. It's just Jerry O'Connell's such a funny creature.
He's, Yeah.
Like the way he keeps reinventing himself is so strange.
Yeah, they get still every other year they give him a pilot.
And he's got that nice marriage to Rebecca Romijn that's been like 15, 20 years now. Like
yeah, I think like 10.
I think it's longer.
She was with Stamos when she did X-Men. She was still Rebecca
you're right.
Romijn
I'm sorry.
Stamos
I'm
at that point.
I'm off on that. Yeah.
I think it's been like 10 because I think she made it through the first 3 X-Men with a Stamos attached. She used to be my number 1. When I was like 10, I mean X-Men, the first X-Men movie
What a
was like
shocking
huge for me.
pick. What an unconventional pick. Rebecca Romijn?
I was
the beautiful blonde model?
I was so into because I'm saying it's not my type anymore.
Oh wow, congratulations.
Yeah. But when I was 10, I just like only wanted fucking X-Men stuff, you know? I just was like, who's my favorite hottie? I don't know, someone from the X-Men. Maybe I like Famke Janssen more than Rebecca Romijn.
Famke Janssen's great. Rebecca Romijn is great.
My crushes were just X-Men at that
Renée
point.
Zellweger is great.
Yes.
In
Okay.
Jerry Maguire.
So he goes back up. There's a phone call. He goes, let me pick it up.
Yeah, he
And
talks
it's
to
Sugar. And he goes, is
Jay Mohr.
Maguire
Jay
in the room?
Sniff if he's in the room.
He does a hard sniff. And it's this amazing fucking movie
Cruise
star
has
close
this
up.
like rictus grin on his face.
Yeah. He's
This,
losing
like,
his
grimace.
mind.
Oh.
He's like sweating bullets.
He's like, yeah, you're with the big boys now. You don't worry about Maguire. Like, like this is you need to be with me, Cush. You're gonna play.
Yeah.
It's so gross. Mohr is so good.
And he just stands there in silence.
Yeah. And then he
fucking
asks
gritting his teeth.
Beau Bridges about it all.
Well, my favorite line, not my favorite line, in a movie that has
In a movie
5
full
of the
of
most
favorite
famous lines of, no, but a line I really like, and especially line reading. He's sitting there with the gritted teeth, Sugar hangs up, and then Maguire just goes, we have no comment at this time. To make it look like it was just some press guy. Yeah. And then he goes, you know what? Why don't we just sign something right now?
Right. You were in the lobby with the black fella. Beau Bridges, man. Quietly villainous performance.
Beau Bridges, though.
I remember if you watch the the director and cast commentary, when Beau Bridges says with the black fella, Cuba Gooding Jr. bristles. Like he's like, easy. Like, he's mad about it.
He's very good at quietly villainous in The Descendants, too. That's a good flavor of Beau.
Yeah. He's a skinnier Beau. I forgot that Beau was kind of skinny.
Well, especially when he started out.
Beau's pretty husky now.
Yeah.
He's a husky dude
Have
now.
you ever seen The Landlord, the Hal Ashby movie?
I've never seen The Landlord, the Hal Ashby movie.
It's one of my 10 favorite films of all time.
Well, good for you.
Thank you. Humble brag. But Beau Bridges is very skinny in that, and he's like really fucking...
That's a long time ago.
He's like a handsome dude. You're like, oh, Beau.
Oh, I don't know.
Because now you go like, well, Beau and Jeff. It's like...
Sure, right.
One of those guys ages a little better than the other guy.
Yeah, they're both pretty old at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, so he loses Cush.
Yeah.
And then he loses Avery, his fiance, shortly after, when she's trying to puff him up and says, "You are not a loser." Who said anything about loser?
Yeah.
And she punches him. You know what
He
I'm
breaks
talking
up with
about?
her. She goes, no one breaks up with me.
Right, and she destroys him.
Punches him in the face.
Yeah, good for Avery.
I guess so.
Yeah, I'm on Avery's side in that scene.
Okay.
Should punch him. No one breaks up with Avery Bishop.
Yeah, I mean, neither of us have done it, right?
No.
Ben, have you ever broken up with Avery Bishop?
Which Avery Bishop?
The character played by Kelly Preston in the film Jerry Maguire?
No, I have not.
Okay. So then it's like, okay. I thought that we'd already hit the second act, the sort of the low.
But nope.
No, now we're there?
Yep.
And so he goes to see Dorothy, and immediately like reveals like, I broke up with Avery.
Yeah.
And he's drunk out of his mind.
Got a wound on the eye, and she goes in the kitchen with Bonnie Hunt.
Bonnie Hunt knows what's up. She's like, dude, this guy he's desperate. He just needs to be with somebody.
And Zellweger's like, no.
But Zellweger's also like
into him, wants it to be the case.
into him, and also just like, leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah.
I want to be with this guy.
Yeah,
like this guy inspired me for a second there.
Yeah, I just want someone who inspires me. And then there's a moment I love. Crowe's so good at these little behavioral things, and once again, they become his undoing because he starts trying to like engineer
Make whole
them.
movies about them, yeah.
Right. But there's the moment where she's got the plate of pasta, and they turn around at the same moment, and it goes straight into Zellweger's
chest. Yeah.
And Bonnie Hunt just very calmly says, "Okay, lean forward, lean forward, lean down." And she's like making
peels
sure
it out, yeah.
right,
And she's
that
like,
it
still
only
edible?
stays in the one
Change
area.
your shirt.
Yeah, right. It's just these messy behavioral scenes that just have like each scene has like a sort of powder keg to it.
And
you know,
you're
there's
just like these people are they care about each other. Like, you know,
Yeah.
these people have some sort of
The shorthand.
intimacy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be it sisterly, be it
Yeah.
romantic, whatever.
right. So
While
Maguire.
this is happening, what's Jerry doing?
Oh my God. Okay.
What's he doing?
Ray sneaks out of the bedroom.
Yeah, little Ray.
Little Ray goes
Ray.
tippy 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 on his tiptoes.
That
He sneaks
shot-
out quiet like a mouse.
That shot where he you see his head when he leaves the couch, and you just sort of see his head go by. It's just the top of his head. It is adorable.
He's got the funniest head.
He's got a funny head. But he chats to Jerry, and you can see that Jerry, and this is, of course, the linchpin of the whole movie,
Yeah.
he's like talking about his dead dad to him.
Yeah.
He's like, when my dad died, and, you know, like, he's like, when my dad retired, like, he worked for blah for 20 years, and then he said, I wish they'd give me a more comfortable chair. You know, and then he died. And then Ray starts talking about his dead father.
He doesn't talk to him like he's a kid.
Right. But he is actually bearing his soul to him.
Right.
And Ray tries to do the same, and Jerry's like, I want to talk about my dad. And he's like, no, let's go to the zoo.
Is the car scene before or after this? The human head weighs 5 pounds.
The car scene is after.
Okay.
No, it's before.
Because it's after the
when
airport.
he comes down,
He gives him a ride from the
When he
airport,
comes down to say hi to
Right, Ray knows
Jerry
him, yeah.
on the couch, he goes back to the human head weighs 8 pounds.
But there's
Did you know my neighbor has 3 rabbits?
That's the best fucking joke. I love that so much. I laugh so hard every
so
time.
funny.
Every time that line takes me by surprise because they've established this clear dynamic where it's like they're going to compete with facts. And Ray's got these real kindergarten facts, and Jerry Maguire has like sports stats, right? And then he just goes with something that no one could know. But the film acknowledges that's funny, and Cruz like loses it.
And he's just like, I can't compete with that.
And his laugh is so genuine.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say, like, I don't think he's capable of that as an actor.
No, he is capable.
But I also feel like it feels sort of like a take where he maybe lost it at Lipnicki.
Yeah, maybe.
Where he
right,
genuinely
right.
was just
maybe
so
Lipnicki
charmed by
was just
Lipnicki.
saying random shit. I have no
Right.
idea. Or maybe it was just Crowe said, now say this, and he said it, and it
Yeah.
just was real funny coming out of his little
But
mouth.
it feels like a real genuine laugh, and Lipnicki laughs too. Like, they all are like,
right.
Lipnicki knows what
So
he was fucking doing. He knows it's a fact that Maguire couldn't know.
So, you know, on and on things go. Because the thing is, the linchpin of the relationship is Tom Cruise and Ray, is Jerry and Ray.
Well,
is
that's a
Cruise
line
and
I love.
Lipnicki.
I got a great guy.
Well, that's much later in the movie,
and he
right?
loves my kid.
And he really likes me a lot.
He sure does like
he sure
me a
does
lot.
like me a lot.
Yeah.
And so as their agency continues, their agency being just Rod Tidwell,
Right.
You know,
The
and,
Rod
like,
Tidwell agency.
right?
RTA.
And Jerry is trying to like figure out how to represent him right and
Yeah.
how to like make him famous. Essentially, he gets like a crappy contract offer from his team, the Cardinals. And they're like, okay, we'll just play out and be a free agent. You can get a better offer if you do well this season. You know, it's like literally that's something happens all the time to this day.
But it's scary. They
could
don't have
get
the
injured,
stability.
yeah.
He's older at this point, you know?
The
I
idea is he's in the middle of his career.
mean, he's not old, but he's
probably
maybe
in his
past
late 20s.
the hump,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And if it was going to happen, it would have happened by now. So the numbers might only start shrinking. He's got a bunch of kids. He's got a lot of family who he seems to be
He's got
supporting.
2 kids. He's got 2 kids.
He's got 2 kids. He's got a third on the way.
No, he's got 1 kid and another on the way.
Oh, okay. Sorry. But he's got a lot of family members. Like
His
he's got
kid, played by Jeremy Suarez, Tyson, by the way, is adorable. Who does
Incredible.
the big man is back?
Yeah.
Ah! He's great. I
But
love
there are the
him.
things like, you know, he's got his brothers around with him all the time. I mean, it's
DP.
always it's a full house, and
DP, you're militant, but I love
Yeah.
you. Got nothing but love for you.
and his is he the
I
one?
could quote this whole movie.
The older one's the one who lost the foot.
The older one's the one who lost the foot, but you don't see him except for the one scene where he's like in his room by the computer, and there's
Yeah.
like a leak. There's water damage on the
Yeah.
walls. And he's got a Janet Jackson poster,
Yeah.
which I think is a reference to the fact that Janet Jackson almost played the Regina King part.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was originally cast.
Yeah.
And then I think dropped out for music stuff, and then they
Maybe.
cast Regina King in the
Great.
best performance of all time.
Great call.
Yeah.
Regina King basically looks the same these days.
It's
kind
incredible.
of crazy.
She has aged beautifully.
And it's so good. I mean, I don't know if you guys watch American Crime, but she's amazing on that show on ABC.
won an Emmy for that, right?
She did.
Which was just like, yeah, about time someone gives her a award for something. She's been doing such solid work for like fucking 25 years.
She's so good in Ray, which is not a great movie or anything, but she's to me the sort of standout of it.
I agree. Another film in which the person who played her husband won the Oscar, and she arguably was doing the tougher job,
Sure.
the heavy lifting,
Yeah.
you know, to make the performance really sing.
I think Cuba deserved his Oscar, but yeah.
Here's the thing. On one hand, I think Cuba deserves his Oscar. On the other hand, it's probably my least favorite of like the 8 main performances in the film.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I think
And I
it's
don't mean
such
as
a
any
performance.
slight as him.
I
yeah,
think
but
he's incredible in this movie.
I think Cruz is better. I think Zellweger's better. I think
don't-
King is better.
They're all
I think
great.
Lipnicki's better.
No.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not. Thumbing my nose rather at Gooding. I just think the film is so loaded with incredible performances, and he has the showiest character.
He is a showy character. I don't disagree with you. I just think he also nails the quiet moments, which is why it's, to me, top shelf. Like the scenes where, that scene where he's watching the wedding tape,
Yeah,
and you just see his face, like he's like got a big grin on his face because he's happy for. We'll get to it in a second. And you just see his face like just shift, not even fall, and he realizes like, oh, they have no idea what they're doing going into this. Like they don't know why they got married.
yeah. You didn't have the talk, did you?
I mean, then he says
this is
it, but
another way
we
of doing it.
already
Yeah.
know it.
Yeah.
He does that. He does great stuff like that throughout the movie.
I'll just say this, I guess. If you go, okay, in a fair world, the 4 leads of this film would have been nominated as Cruz, lead, Zellweger, lead, King, supporting, Gooding, supporting. Of those 4...
And Hunt would have been nominated for supporting too.
Yeah.
And not one, but she would have been nominated.
Of those 4, Gooding's my
and
least
Lipnicki
favorite.
would be nominated for supporting.
Of those 4, Gooding would be
I
my
don't
least
get it. He's great.
I think
it
he's
doesn't
great,
matter
but the
about
other ones
least,
are greater.
most favorite.
I
Whatever.
don't know. Regina King, I just think should have won for this movie.
Whatever. She didn't.
Yeah, I
But
know.
she wouldn't have been in competition with him anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. He's talking to Ray. They have a great conversation.
Right.
He's like,
and
my mom's coming back out. He's like, I slip back. I'll see you later. Ray slips
you
out.
said fuck.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I won't though.
You said fuck.
I won't
But
though.
he looks genuinely astonished. And there's this thing,
You
they're
said
shooting him from like 3/4,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like sitting
His head
sideways
is like
on
leaning
the couch.
against the couch.
But it looks like the couch is eating him.
because he's small.
He's like a rag doll. He's like a ventriloquist
his feet
dummy,
don't reach
and his
the
body's
whole
collapsing.
cushion. They don't cover the whole couch cushion because he's a little guy.
And then Renée Zellweger comes back out. She's changed into a different shirt.
Yeah, but then he gives a drunken speech, but he's got to go right away.
He's got a fire poker.
Yeah.
He realizes how
I
drunk he
am
is.
Drunk.
Yeah.
But he does make out with her and grab her boob. She calls him boss. He says he feels like Clarence Thomas, which is a big laugh to this day.
Yeah.
Just to show you how much Clarence Thomas's alleged sexual harassment has lingered in the culture.
I just love
Now I feel like Clarence Thomas.
Yeah, I love the sleaziness of he goes in for the kiss immediately with the
grabs
hand on the
boob.
boob.
He has the boob hand before the lip mouth.
They're simultaneous, and I also think it's.
he's me, age 15.
Yeah, right. That's the thing. I mean, this really could be a sort of like Greedo shot first kind of thing, where you go like,
Where-
did he,
yeah,
the
what-
lips
what
or the
touches
boob?
skin
What's the
first,
first
right, yeah.
contact? But the thing I love about it is it's not
Sorry
even,
about the hand.
Yeah, but when he says it, he does the gesture because it's not even just like he places a palm
He's
on the
grabbing
breast.
it.
He's got to grab. It's like a claw hand, and he just like he wants to steal the boob, like he wants to reach the boob and put it in his pocket.
But that's what I like. Like, the movie could so easily be about him being a total jerk.
Yes,
But you get that he's vulnerable. She knows he's vulnerable.
he
And
immediately
They know that they
yeah.
like each other
Yeah.
in some form or another.
But they know
like,
they at this point they're like probably not a good idea, right? Even if we like each other, even if we want to do this, probably is not.
And then the next
Smart.
day, she goes in the office and she's like, alone, alone, alone.
Yeah.
You know, you just need to be alone. And he's like, do you want to go to dinner? And she's like, I know a great place.
Okay, now I know you guys like this movie
Uh-huh.
and you like these characters.
Love them.
That is kind of gross, that scene a little bit, right?
Nope.
I mean, okay, we're fine.
What
That's
is
fine.
that?
Good. Raise your objection, though. It's good.
Yeah, I'd love to hear your argument.
I mean, he is her boss.
Correct.
And that the way that plays out is he's drunk, and I don't know, it's a little gross. I'm just saying. That's all.
The drunk scene or the scene afterwards?
The
where they-
drunk scene.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Oh, no, that scene's supposed to be gross.
Oh, that scene's very gross.
Yeah, it's another low point.
But
in
I'm
the
saying
series
it's
of-
like a little harassy, like
Yes.
sexual
Well, that's why he
harassy
says he feels like
and-
Clarence Thomas.
100%.
No, I know, but I'm saying it's like we're also supposed to be like, oh, that Tom Cruise and oh,
see,
what a
I
guy.
don't
That's not
So-
what this movie is. This
Yeah.
movie isn't about like, oh, that. It's like, no, these are things that happen to people.
I think the thesis of this movie is Tom Cruise shouldn't be this Tom Cruisey. Like, he grabs the boob because he thinks he's Tom Cruise. He says, "You complete me" at the end of the movie because he's not trying to be Tom Cruise anymore. He's just, to quote another film, a guy standing in front of a girl telling her that he loves her.
Right.
To paraphrase another movie, I switched the genders. They go to dinner.
They go to dinner. She's wearing a dress.
She looks great.
That's not a dress. That's an Audrey Hepburn movie.
Yeah, another amazing line.
Todd Luizzo plays the nanny / child technician / au pair.
Another amazing actor. Another amazing performance.
Great little like 3-scene performance.
Yeah.
Who is obsessed with jazz.
Yeah.
And clearly at least held a torch for Dorothy.
I think
if
he has
not,
a crush on her
maybe
that he never acted upon.
maybe he dated her briefly and it didn't work out. Maybe he's one of the 3 lovers who was not as good as a bath.
I smell a strong unrequited vibe.
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
But he's kind of open about it, where he's like, treat her right, you know?
Yeah. He gives Jerry Maguire a mixtape, a cassette of jazz
of
music.
Coltrane and Davis
Yeah.
in Stockholm in 1963, before their culture was ruined by 1,000 bar rooms and like whatever.
Yeah. Now, here's a question. He goes, "Oh, that's not what I thought you were going to give me."
Right, because he thinks he's reaching for a condom.
That was my question.
Yeah,
okay,
he's
so that's
like,
the
if you're gonna, he's like, if you're gonna spend that, I just want to give you, and Jerry goes like, "Oh God, don't," like he obviously thinks he's gonna produce some sort of prophylactic.
Have you ever had someone give you a condom without asking for it?
I don't think so.
That's the
I
weird
can't
part of
imagine
that
what
joke
the
is I
scenario
like
would
can't.
be.
Right,
No,
I
it's
can't-
a little.
It's a little
forced.
goofy. It's a little bit of a reach.
But then the jazz tape makes up for it.
It's great.
And then of course they listen to the music when they have sex, and
they're like,
Jerry's like,
no.
"What is this music?"
Yeah.
It's great.
There's the amazing scene.
My reaction to everything in this movie is great. That's how I react.
It is great. There's God, when he brings her back home, and then is there anything we need to cover in the date itself?
No.
Yeah.
We can,
It's just
there's the
movie
mariachi
stars
band that plays next to.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
very
I do
funny.
love
There's
that.
lots of great
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, there's the scene where they're making out and he breaks.
that's
her
what I
bra
wanted to get
strap.
to.
I mean,
Yeah.
her dress strap.
Yeah.
And ties it back together.
I mean, God, fuck.
It is hard sometimes to make Cruise have chemistry with women. Like sometimes he doesn't,
100%.
like Kelly McGillis or like some of his female co-stars.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
Oh,
work
you mean
with
Top
them.
Gun, that movie starring
Tom
two
Cruise
people
and
who
Kelly
don't like
McGillis?
the other gender?
Sure.
Um,
Wait a second. Relax. I don't want to go down that road. I'm not into that.
The thing I think is so amazing about the dress strap moment is that it's the sexiest depiction of someone putting on clothes I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's a good putting on clothes.
Like he hits the thing by accident, and then it's like, oh, you watch it and you go like, oh, is he gonna fucking undress her on the porch? Like, is he gonna, is he gonna take out the boob hand again? And it's like, no, in the most seductive way possible. He makes
Puts
her
it back
more
together.
clothed. He puts it back together.
Right. So this is him.
He's learning slowly.
Well, no, it's I think more like he's a little more collected.
Yeah.
This is him being sexy Jerry Maguire again, who's probably a bit of a ladies' man.
Yeah.
He's got a little bit of the magic back.
Not to mention that black book is torched, so he can't go back to the old chestnuts.
There's also the scene where
Can't play the hits.
during the sex scene where she opens the door and he's kind of standing there like looking like a sexy Tom Cruise, and she just closes
Immediately
the door.
slams it and then waits a moment and then opens up
And
again and
he's
he's
just like-
laughing and he's like, I did the fucking I'm Tom Cruise. I'm gonna do the Tom Cruise thing.
Yeah, that's great.
I've always said, and I'll say it 1,000 times, I like movies where characters laugh at each other.
Yes.
Where characters
We
do
talked about
funny
this
things
before.
in the universe of the movie, and the movie acknowledges that that's funny. I hate movies where characters do something funny, and everyone else goes, what? And the audience is supposed to laugh, and everyone else is just, like, astonished. And it's like, think about how many times you laugh uncomfortably at something you shouldn't laugh at.
Yep.
Things are funny.
The thing that happens though
Mhm.
is Dorothy quickly they start dating. Oh God, no! There's the breakfast scene.
Oh, my God.
Where he overhears her being like, "I love how vulnerable this guy is." I love like.
And Bunny Hunt's like, slow down, slow down,
Yeah,
slow down,
yeah.
slow down.
And like she calls him a bottom feeder or like at
Yeah.
the bottom of the rung, and Cruz Jerry hears it all.
Right, and then she goes like, I don't care, I love him. The
Yeah,
difference with this
yeah.
guy is I love him. I'm
Yeah.
in love
It's
with him.
such a
And she's
great
like, don't say
Cameron
that,
Crowe
don't say that,
monologue.
don't say that. And Jerry's listening to the whole thing, and then,
And then
Ray comes
rumbles
out.
and he's, "Hey Jerry!"
Yeah,
And I love the scene's perfect. Like any other Hollywood movie would play that scene for drama or for awkwardness or whatever. And Jerry's just like, we bottom feeders start with breakfast. Like start with cereal before we get our coffee.
but there's even the great
They
moment
eat Apple Jacks.
before Hunt and Zellweger start talking where they're just futzing with the coffee machine. And it's that moment of like, are we going to talk about it?
Yeah, where they're just like,
Right. Like, are we going to have the conversation? Because I know what's going on. I know you don't want to hear what I have to say.
Yeah.
So now they're dating.
They're dating, but then Dorothy's like, this isn't working. I don't make any money. Like, you can't do this.
And I don't want to be a burden on you. I have health insurance. I got to take care of my kid.
She takes another job. She's going to move. And Bonnie Hunt supports this.
100%.
She's like, good.
Great.
He's still very vulnerable. You guys don't know what you're doing. And she's about to move. She's getting in the U-Haul.
Yep.
And what does Jerry do before he talks to before he talks to Dorothy? Talks to Ray in the car.
Yeah.
He's trying to be like, don't worry, guy, I'll see you all the time. And he just says, do you remember what he says?
I don't remember what he said.
Go ahead and go. Little Lipnicki. It's
Ray.
so great.
Can I say something?
Great.
Listeners of our podcast, if you wouldn't mind just tweeting at Jay Lipnicki, great job. Just tweet great job at him. We're not harassing him.
He did a great job.
Just tweet, you did a great job.
You did a great job.
At Jay Lipnicki on Twitter, you did a great job.
Right.
Hashtag the two friends.
Hashtag the two friends. Include it there.
You did a great job. Hashtag the two friends.
I just think it's important that Jerry talks to Ray first because the movie never lets go of that idea that it's like Jerry loves the kid so much.
Loves the kid.
And like loves the adoration, but also like when Ray gives him the little hug before they go on the date
With
and
the
Dorothy's
little arms?
freaking out and she's like, he clearly needs like he's been missing like a dad present.
And no one else has worked like that, Because the thing Bonnie Hunt says is like, do you want Ray seeing some man in the house who he's going to have to say goodbye to or,
No, right. And it's like, I mean, yeah. It's great. He's not going anywhere. It's more just that Laurel thinks like, this isn't, he doesn't love you. He loves the kid. Like,
right. Which she's kind of right about.
Because then he's like, what if you don't go? What if we just get married?
Yeah, because that's a way to solve this problem, right? And she's like, don't just say that
unless you mean it.
Unless you mean it.
Oh, boy. It's so heartbreakingly good. And he like
lowers
pulls her sunglasses down.
And the answer is in her eyes.
We're so goofy.
We're so goofy.
Don't worry, we'll be mean to later Cameron Crowe movies.
Will we? I don't know.
I think we will.
I love Crowe. I feel like it's like a warm bath. I keep on using the same analogy, but it's like a warm bath.
Light some candles.
Yeah, you light some candles, you drink some hot cocoa while you're in the bath.
Sure.
Some bathtub cocoa?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you play a Springsteen album.
Play Secret Garden by Springsteen,
yeah.
which is a song written for this movie, and it's great. The one that's like should let you in her house. No, the secret and then we start just jumping through time. This is the thing. The movie really picks because it's supposed to be set over an entire NFL season in the middle. That starts in the middle.
Yeah.
And it ends at the end of the NFL season.
I love it. I mean, this is storytelling risks,
Seriously.
But this is why, good. I dropped my phone. You were looking because a drop happened. It was my phone. I dropped my phone.
Sure.
Because I'm about to say something dramatic, and I don't want to drop the mic because they're Benz and they're expensive. A thing I love about this movie is talking about this thing. Every scene is interesting, is engaging, is entertaining.
Yes.
Is insightful in this movie. This movie skips over the scenes that you don't need to see. It's not just that every scene he has in the film, he invests a couple different layers onto them, so you can't really wrap your fingers around the scenes. There's some weird sort of elements you got to kind of lean in to figure out. But it also is you don't need to see them fucking planning the wedding. Who gives a shit?
No, they get married in her backyard.
Yeah.
Rod sings What's Going On by Marvin Gaye.
I just say this all the time, but I get so frustrated when I see movies that feel like they have this very didactic approach of what a movie needs to be.
Sure, and how it needs to lay out its plot. Yeah.
And I say all the time, a movie can be anything. That's the amazing thing is a movie can do anything at any moment. So if you want to just have them be married, just cut to them being married.
Yeah.
If there was something important that happened along that process, I trust you would show me that one scene.
Absolutely.
But why not just jump ahead? The wedding's great.
The wedding's great. It's adorable.
Yeah.
It seems like it goes off wonderfully. And then they're watching the video a little later.
Yeah.
And you see just Jerry's face as he's getting ready for the ceremony.
Yeah.
And he looks like he's about to go off to war. Like he just looks terrible.
Oh boy.
And that's what I was talking about. That scene Cuba Gooding Jr. plays so well, where he watches his face, like you see his face fall as he realizes, like, because he's already said they've had the conversation about shoplifting the Poonie.
Yeah.
Where he's basically saying, like, this is not like a woman you can just casually date or just have around because
single mother. You can't do that.
To be with somebody. Yeah, this is a real thing.
And Rod
Jerry
was raised by a single mother.
Right.
That's the big thing, is Rod understands, like, you don't understand what you're doing entering her life with the son.
Right.
And
you
being
can't
this
just
present.
do this by half.
You got to be in love with
But
her.
the problem is that Jerry takes that because he takes everything seriously. He's just like, okay, all right, well, I guess this is the thing to do.
Well, Rod's thesis is you can't be with her if you're not in love with her.
So the whole trick...
And Jerry's thing is, well, then I should marry her. And he's like, no. Yeah. You got to be in love with her.
And later he asks, like, why did you... And Jerry's like, she was loyal.
Yeah.
And Rod just starts laughing at him because... But, like, the whole trick of this movie, the whole trick that Cameron Crowe pulls, is that he is in love with her, and he is from early on.
He doesn't realize.
And he's figuring it out.
Yeah.
And, like, it's like a backwards relationship. They get married, almost break up, and then realize that, no, actually, we like to be together.
But it's also...
And it's not just, like, that I miss people. I miss you. But, like...
And it's the thing of, like, I can't love somebody until you love yourself,
Sure, right. He needs to figure himself out.
He just doesn't know who he is yet, so he's not capable of engaging with someone in that way.
He finally... So the movie progresses to this big football scene at the end of the movie where Rod gets a big success, and then...
Well, I like that you skip ahead very quickly. The relationship just sort of, like...
It kind of falls apart, right? And Dorothy kind of breaks up with him.
Cold fish, and she has the speech where she says my favorite line in the film. This
great
is
line.
genuinely my favorite line.
It's a great line.
He loves my kid, and he sure does like me a lot.
Yeah, this great guy. He loves me, loves my kid, and he sure does like me a lot.
Yeah. And she just says, I think this next road trip you take should be a break.
Right.
And she's just saying sort of like, I love that she's the one who kind of breaks up with him. And she's like, look, on the surface, it all is working, but it just doesn't feel right. And I can't put him through this. I can't put myself through this.
But that's the, like, when he then goes on the road to watch Rod have all this success and he's like gets his self-worth, like a line. He gets, like, he and Rod have this big embrace, and, like, other people are like, oh, like, why don't I have an agent like this? And
Troy Aiken.
No longer are people, Troy Aikman.
I don't fucking know.
Says that, and but also, it's like when he has this big moment of self-worth, and he's like, wait, I need Dorothy to be here. Like that thing where he picks up the phone and he says her name.
Well, let's not rush through this moment. So,
but that's what he's figuring it out.
I know. But Rod, Rod is like having a real good fucking game. And it's the last game of the season before the contract is going to lapse and he'd have to renew it, right?
Uh-huh.
And he does this insane catch where he, like, jumps up, catches the ball, jumps over the guy, and then it looks like
kind of gets knocked on his head.
Right on his neck, right? Lying. Regina King's there watching with his whole family.
Yeah.
And they're watching this. She immediately, this is her Oscar moment, kind of,
Oh, she's incredible.
But she immediately loses it, and they're going, no, honey, wake up.
It's the nightmare of any athlete's spouse. Like, it sucks.
And a great Cameron Crowe touch where you're watching them watch the game, and then the game just cuts to
a commercial.
That's credit cards playing football.
Yeah, it's a good commercial.
But it also, like, puts you
looks fun.
It puts you in that moment, what it would feel like to be the wife of someone watching. Potentially, my husband might be dead.
Sure.
He might be brain dead. He might be paralyzed.
Sure. The very least could just be injured and thus we're broke. A million different things.
And even I feel like, I don't know if it's before the commercial break or after, but the announcer says, like, I sure hope his family isn't watching this, And it's like, for everyone else, this is just engaging television. Yeah. Like, not that they don't care about him, but, like, first and foremost, I'm knocking everything over today. First and foremost, this is, like, it's entertainment. It's a story, right? But for her, it's like, this is life and death, and she immediately gets Jerry on the phone. And it's like, Jerry, I need you to tell me something.
Yeah.
And he goes, like, he's not responsive. He's out. I just need you to stay calm. And she's like, I can't stay calm. You don't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think this is part of the click for him, is listening to her and how much he means to her. Because she's been so aggressive in all these other scenes,
Yeah.
She is a marketing major.
And she's
talking about the
almost
brand.
in charge of her husband's
She's
brand.
talking about the family, and it's practical, and it's about the numbers that they need to hit in order to keep everyone afloat.
Yeah.
But now this is just the love and the terror of not having her husband come back in the same form. and he runs onto the field. There's a great movie star moment that he underplays where he's running on, and people go, hey, hey, and just without even looking, he just over his shoulder flashes the VIP pass.
Mm-hmm.
So they let him do it. It's so secondary, and he's sort of like there on the sidelines watching.
That's the thing. It's like, I think this is supposed to crystallize what he's offering.
Yeah.
Which is like, he's on the phone to her right away. He's there.
Yeah.
He's, sports agents have hundreds of clients. Like,
Right.
It's pretty unlikely they'd be on the scene, like, and be able to call the family and be like, this is what's happening. Like, it's okay. It'll be all right. Just, blah, 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 blah.
But he's always going to be there for Rod. And then
Rod gets up, of course. He's fine. He does a big
but there's
Super
the
Bowl
moment
shuffle.
when they're snapping, and he kind of comes to.
Yeah.
And they go, are you okay? And he goes, wait. Let me have this moment.
So good.
And he just knows. He knows what's happening. He's woken up, and he knows he's just made his career.
Yeah.
He did an incredible move. Everyone thought he was dead, and he now has to play the part.
Right.
And Cruz says there's the bathroom scene. Fine.
Help me. Help you.
Yeah. And Cruz says...
Up at dawn, pride-swallowing siege. Oh, God, he's so good.
And Cruz says, like, I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't remember the exact wording, but he says, like, you play with your head, you need to play with your heart.
Yeah, sure.
Like,
right.
the big athletes, the stars, it's because the fans love the guy. And you're not making yourself lovable.
Yeah.
And he knows this is the moment. He's just done this heroic thing.
Right. So
it looked amazing. He falls down. This is his moment to milk it and
sure.
perform.
Right.
And he does it.
Yeah, he does a big old Super Bowl shuffle. He jumps around. He jumps into the crowd.
And just becomes a star. I mean, it's just like this guy's a star. And afterwards, he's hounded by everyone. He's got sunglasses
on.
And
he wants Jerry.
Right. And he just runs over to Jerry and hugs him. Troy Aikman goes like, why don't we have that? And he
Mohr tries to touch him on the shoulder or whatever.
Puts him on the phone with his wife, and you just see the conversation. These two people love each other. And it's like, here are three people who care about each other and respect each other on a person-to-person level. It's not business. They are friends.
Yeah,
and that
absolutely.
is the
they go to
love
crab restaurants
of
together.
his life.
Mm-hmm.
And Jerry has that, but he's not.
It's Dorothy.
He's not appreciating it. He's
I'm
not
looking
realizing
for my wife.
Yeah. Oh, my God. That's the sexiest thing anyone could say. The way he says it in those circumstances.
I know. No, I know. I mean that's the thing. He obviously runs home and into the divorced women's group.
Which I believe was based on something Cameron Crowe's mother actually did in his childhood. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. I believe I heard that. And he comes in and he gives the big speech.
We live in a cynical world.
Yeah.
Cynical world. And we work in a business of tough competitors. I tweeted that last night and 3 separate people thought I had gotten fired and like texted me. It was really, I felt bad.
I forgot that You Complete Me is set up earlier in the film.
Of course, in the
hearing impaired couple
when
in the
they
elevator.
quit the job, they see a deaf couple in the elevator sign "You Complete Me."
He goes, "I wish I knew what they were saying," and she goes, "My favorite on is death is that you complete me." But it's like the one moment where he doesn't know what else to say, and he remembers that moment in the elevator, the most romantic thing he saw anyone ever say. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So he gives the whole speech, and she goes, "Shut up, just shut up. You had me a podcast," right? She says, "You had me a podcast."
That's what she says.
Yeah, that was weird. I was wondering about that
podcasts
too.
had not even been invented,
You
but
had me a
that's
podcast.
another thing that Jerry Maguire was right at the start of was the podcast revolution when Renée Zellweger named them.
Do you think if they made Jerry Maguire today, it would be about a podcast agent instead of about a sports agent?
We have podcast agents, both of us, separate.
Yeah, and we're asking them, we're going to show us the money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God. No, he gives a speech and she's just like, "Shut up, you had me a hello." It's so good.
Okay, now here's my question
I
for you.
burst into tears watching it last night.
Here's my question for you.
Into tears.
Here's my question for you.
What's your question?
Does he ever say hello?
Yeah, he does.
He does? Okay, I couldn't remember and I didn't want to rewind.
The first thing he does when he comes in is says hello.
He says hello and not hi?
And then he says, "I'm looking for my wife." I'm pretty sure he says hello.
Yeah. You had me at hello.
It's a great line.
But it also is, I mean, it's the positive version of what was happening with Kush. Like, I always said if you showed up, we'd go with you. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the mere fact that he shows up in that state tells her everything she needs to know. What he's saying is meaningless because, his actions speak volumes.
So great.
It's a great movie.
And then you know how the movie ends? With a fucking Bob Dylan song. Because Cameron Crowe doesn't fuck around. He gets Bob Dylan songs. No one else gets Bob Dylan
And
songs.
what is his manager, his last line is really good. The last line that the manager...
To be honest, in life, I've failed as much as I've succeeded. I can't remember the exact phrasing of it, but But I love my wife. I love my life, and I wish you my kind of success.
I get choked up even hearing
It's
you deliver.
so good.
And you're forgetting the biggest part of the film.
When Ray throws a baseball,
I got a hot arm, that kid.
it's a slightly dorky joke.
Yeah, but it's funny 'cause he got a little arm and he's throwing the baseball.
I like Knocked Up, which is another movie I'll defend to the death.
Same here.
I like movies that are about, how romance can actually develop between people and not like a meet cute. Then they're together. Then a thing happens and they're apart. And then they get back together. But actually about like the weird narratives and the compromises people make and like the
manipulation.
Exactly.
I said it on our last episode. I need less meet cute. I need more be sweet. The moment where you meet is irrelevant. It's about the moment.
What about the moment we met?
Where you fall in love.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, we met in a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
Because we talked on Twitter and then we were like, you want to go see a movie together? So we met. I was late, as I always am, to everything, to a screening of Stories We Tell, the Sarah Polley documentary. So we spent like an hour and a half sitting next to each other in the dark, and that was how we met. And then when the movie ended, we were like, you want to go get drinks?
Now, which movie was it? Because we saw the Bling
Stories
Ring
We
together,
Tell.
but Stories We Tell was the first.
Was the first
movie
one?
We saw
Yeah.
together. Yeah, that was funny that we did that.
Yeah. But we
And then
kind of like hit
second
the ground
time
running.
It was after you'd gotten major fired. No. The first time you'd gotten major fired.
No, that's not true. I believe the first time was we had shot it and I hadn't heard back about it yet. Is that possible?
No, the first time I saw you had already gotten major fired.
Really?
Yeah, and then the second time
Was when I wasn't rehired?
Yes, exactly.
No.
That's why
See,
I had
no.
gotten in touch with you.
You're getting the timeline wrong.
No, I'm not.
The first time was the show was not picked up.
Yeah, that sounds right.
The
Yes,
second
that's
time
it. That's
was
it. You had gotten major fired.
Yeah.
Because the show had been picked up, but you
and
were
I
not
was
in it.
not part of it.
They had turned you into a fat ginger.
Well, I'm not saying anything.
But
I did. I texted you. You said, "Griff, how are you doing?" And we'd all
right,
hung
no,
out
because
once
the
at that
news
point.
had hit that it was like, ooh, Fox to pick up Mulaney, or whatever. And we were like, I texted you being like, hey, good news, right? And you were like, read the press release again, buddy.
Look at the wording, and then you said, like, "How are you doing?" And I said, "It's like the Dark Phoenix saga.
Sure.
Like I was in love, and then my love died,
Mhm.
and now my
it's
love's
back,
come back, but it's trying to
I don't
kill
trust
me."
it. Yeah. But then
And I
we saw
think-
the Bling Ring and went to movie trivia.
But I think you texted me after that, and you're like, "We should be really good friends." Like the fact that I
Yeah, right, that you made
equated
that.
my heartbreak to the Dark Phoenix saga.
Yeah, that's right.
And this is the point. Like the meeting is whatever. We met and it was fine, but we didn't fall in love until later.
Yeah.
I mean, trivia was the second time we hung out, and then we started going to trivia more and more often. And I don't know if there was a specific moment where it was like we're in love with each other, but it grew, it built.
Sure. Yeah.
And then the podcast is another level. That the point is these relationships, they have stages, and I don't like movies where it's just like someone meets someone and then they're in love. I think you know someone for a while, and then there's
Often
a moment
that's how it
where you
goes.
fall in love. Even if you have a crush on them at the beginning, there's a moment where you go, ooh, where the thing drops
Absolutely.
to a whole nother level. This movie, it's one of the few like realistic relationship movies because you see them go through so much bullshit before it, and you don't walk out of it going like, and they'll be happily ever after.
And yet it's so heightened because the dialogue is so crazy,
Yeah.
and because the storyline of the sports agent and all that stuff is so crazy. Tom Cruise says things like, "See this jacket? You can have it. I don't need it because I am cloaked in failure." He'll just say stuff like that.
It's a great movie.
What about the free falling scene? There's so many scenes. We couldn't recap this whole movie
I know where
because there's so many funny
it's
little
such
scenes.
a scene movie, but yeah, where he's looking for the right song to sing to. Can we go through the box office because I know one really interesting stat this movie has in terms of box office.
So this movie opened December 13th, 1996.
Mhm.
It was one of the big hits of 96.
I think it was like the 8th or 9th highest grossing film of that year.
I believe.
Yeah.
And it was number one. It made $17 million in its opening weekend.
Which today would probably be high 20s, 30, something like that, maybe like 28.
Just give me a second and I'll tell you. It would be $33 million.
Jeez Louise.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
Pretty good,
and then
pretty
it
good.
just kept on playing. It was number one many weeks in a row,
Yeah, well,
and then dipped and then came back. It was up and down.
It immediately dips
Okay.
to 2 for 3 weeks, then
Yeah.
back to 1, then back to 2, and back to 1. It's just in the box office. Basically, through February, it's in theaters and grossing big. It closes with 150 domestic, and let me see how much it made worldwide. Another $273 million worldwide. Very
That's
good.
insane. Yeah. A thing I know about this movie is one of those later weeks where it's number one is the lowest grossing number one movie in history.
Right. What you mean? Like one of
And
it,
like
yeah.
the doldrums of February when nothing else was coming out and Jerry Maguire was in.
It's
Like
probably when it
20th
made
week.
$5.5 million and was number one.
I believe that's the lowest grossing number one movie in history.
Yeah.
But at that point, it was already fucking sweeping up. Okay, let's go through December 1996. Jerry Maguire is number one at the box office. Number two, give me a hint.
It's a movie you like a lot.
In 1996,
Yes. It's a sci-fi movie.
that I like a lot?
Yes. We've talked about it on this podcast.
Starship Troopers.
No,
Fuck, that's 97.
it is. I think it's pretty soon. It's like early 97.
Yeah. 1996.
It's a comedy
It's a sci-fi comedy.
that you like a lot. It
Yeah.
opened to $9 million.
This was its first weekend.
In its first weekend. It ended with $37 million domestic. It was a bit of a bomb.
Huh. So Men in Black doesn't come out till the following year.
True.
And Independence Day was
last
earlier,
summer. Yeah,
right?
It certainly made more than 37 mil.
Yeah. It's a sci-fi comedy that we've talked about a lot. It's a bomb. I feel like I probably own it. You think I own it?
Probably.
Yeah. Is there merch?
Yeah, it's based on merch. It's a film that's
Mars Attacks. Merch the movie.
very
It's like the
much so.
merchiest movie of all
It's a very
time.
merchy movie.
It's the only film based off of trading cards.
It's certainly one of the only films based off of trading cards.
Yu-Gi-Oh. I love it. Great movie. Yeah, that was a real disappointing box office. People thought that was going to be a big blockbuster.
Yeah. No.
No, not at all. Decidedly not.
Number
They had a plan. They were going to make a sequel that was going to be Dinosaurs Attack because there were like 3 parallel trading card series that were all Attack series, and Burton was going to make the other Attack movies.
It's probably good that he just made Mars Attacks as much as it's a delightful little movie.
It's a classic. Leave it as it is. Untouchable.
Number 3
Untouchable. Number 3.
Fuck you.
had been number 1 the previous week, and I think the week before that. Huge hit, Disney movie, 136 mil was the total gross. Crazy costumes, grand dam star, based on an animated film.
101 Dalmatians.
101 Dalmatians.
101 Dalmatians.
Number 4 is a movie starring Denzel Washington that was rated G.
The Preacher's Wife?
Yeah.
Nailed that one.
Directed by?
Penny Marshall.
That's right. With Whitney Houston, of course.
Yeah.
Number 5 is a film that I have seen a bunch of times for some reason. An action film set in the Holland Tunnel. Yeah, it's true.
It's an action film set in the Holland Tunnel?
It's either the Holland
Stallone
Tunnel.
is in it.
Yep.
What is it?
Yep, Stallone's in it. It was Oscar nominated for Best Sound Effects Editing. I know that without looking it up.
Jesus Christ, what movie is
It's
it?
call Daylight.
Oh, fuck.
yeah.
I was going to say Daybreak, but I thought that wasn't a
It's
title.
a pretty
not.
fun little movie.
Yeah?
Yeah. Remember, he has to jump through these like wind tunnels to even get into the
I've
tunnel?
never seen it.
Pretty
Yeah.
good.
Can I say something about The Preacher's Wife? Just a thing that's always stuck in my mind.
Yeah.
First of all, that's a remake of a movie, but the original has a different title, right? Isn't one like The Priest's Wife?
I'll look it up.
And the other was
I
The
believe
Preacher's Wife?
so.
I believe they're different titles.
Yeah, all right. The one with the Bishop's Wife
Yes.
with Cary Grant.
Fucked us up at trivia once.
Yeah, I think that's right.
It made me really angry.
Yeah, that's right. But it's true.
Yeah. The second thing I was going to say was I remember reading an interview with the lead kid from The Preacher's Wife in Disney Adventures magazine.
Okay.
And they said, like, what do you got coming up next? And the kid was like, well, I signed a 3-picture deal with Disney, so probably The Preacher's Wife too. And even as like a 7-year-old, I was like, there's not going to be a Preacher's Wife
Probably
too.
not. I mean,
Like,
Preacher's
come on.
Wife was fine, did well, but
Yeah, but that's not, they're not franchising that, baby. Kid, welcome to Hollywood.
No,
Yeah, then
we're
I'm
not
that's the breaks.
Here are some other movies in the top 10 of December in 1996.
Why do I remember
I don't know why you remember
quotes
that.
from
All right.
interviews from Disney Adventures magazine?
Enough. Here's also opening this week, Citizen Ruth.
A
The
great
Alexander
movie.
Payne, opened to $26,000.
Yeah.
On 6 screens.
Not a
It's
big hit.
colossal bomb. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jingle All the Way is in the top 10 with Jake Lloyd.
See, I saw most of these films in theaters.
Sure.
I saw Jingle
saw
All the
that
Way
in
in theaters. I
theaters.
saw Mars Attacks in theaters.
I saw Daylight in theaters. I saw Mars Attacks. I did not see Jerry Maguire in
I
theaters.
saw 101 Dalmatians in
I saw
theaters.
101 Dalmatians in
I saw
theaters.
Jerry
I
Maguire
saw
in
The Preacher's
video.
Wife in theaters.
Yeah.
Star Trek First Contact, number 7, I also saw in theaters. It's
Didn't
a
see
great
that.
film.
Yeah.
Ransom, I did not see that in theaters. The
Neither
Ron
did I.
Howard revenge movie with Mel Gibson.
Yeah, got a ripping James Horner score.
Yeah.
The main theme from Ransom, fucking
Good.
rules.
Woo!
I jammed
Love that
to it.
Horner.
Yeah.
Star Trek First Contract's got a great score too, but I think it's Goldsmith because Goldsmith and Horner both took their cracks at Star Trek.
Yeah,
but I think Goldsmith's on it for that one.
I think so.
They both did great jobs. Space Jam still in there.
Well, I mean, come on, Slam. Welcome to the jam.
English Patient still in there. Obviously, goes on to win Best Picture over Jerry Maguire in a shocking travesty of a win.
Did people think Maguire was going to win?
No.
Yeah.
No. English Patient had it sewn up. It just sucks.
Have I ever told you the thing about my
The mirror has two faces and set it off?
Someone's calling me.
No, just
yeah.
whatever, man.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Okay, so I want to talk about the Oscars because this was a notable year in that 4 of the 5 Best Picture nominees were independent films for the first time ever. And
yeah, the Best Picture nominees were Can You Do It?
Shine.
Yep.
Fargo.
Yep.
Secrets and Lies.
Yep.
And The English Patient.
Yeah, and the 5th is Jerry.
Right.
Jerry M.
Yeah, so you had 4 independent films, 2 of which were Miramax.
The English Patient is Miramax.
I believe Secret and Lies was Miramax
Might have been.
movie as well. Or I think Shine was New Line, Fine Line. Anyway. This is this year where everyone went oh, the indies have taken over.
Sure, right.
And for the first time, the Oscars became an indie game. Because before that, there were the Independent Spirit Awards, and that was their little tent. You give it to these little oddball movies, but the Oscars, you had to be a big boy. You had to come play. You had to
Secrets
throw down.
and Lies was not Miramax, just to be clear.
Okay.
But English Patient was.
You had to throw down fucking $60 million budget on the table
Right,
if you were going to compete
Secrets
in
and
the
Lies,
Oscars.
it barely made any money.
Yeah.
Shine hadn't made much money. Fargo honestly didn't make that much money.
No.
Yeah.
And Jerry Maguire was the one film that's one Hollywood film fighting the rest of this. And you look at Jerry Maguire today, and Jerry Maguire is the movie that would have the hardest time getting made in the current studio system.
100%.
100%. You could get major studio financing for Fargo, Shine, or The English Patient so much faster. And Secret
because
Lies
of the Oscars.
Right. And Secret and Lies is so cheap that you go maybe they would have given it $1 million. But Jerry Maguire's studio would never make today. It's amazing that was viewed as the David versus Goliath, and Jerry Maguire was the Goliath.
Kind of.
And now Jerry Maguire would be the David because if you're making a film like this, you're making it at an independent level.
Mm-hmm.
You're not getting the same sort of support, the same sort of freedom. You don't have James L. Brooks
I know what you're
over
saying.
your shoulder. You don't
Jimmy
get the biggest
L.
movie star in the world, and the audiences aren't heading out to that.
So, with some of the big movies, 96 is the dawn of the new blockbuster because you got Independence Day, you've got Twister, you've got Mission Impossible, you've got The Rock. You've got a lot of big action movies.
So Mission Impossible and Jerry Maguire were the same year?
Yeah,
Jesus
96.
fucking Christ.
Yeah, he had a real year. Nutty Professor is that year.
Oh, man. Talk about big.
He's fat.
You like that movie, Ben?
The Nutty Professor?
Yeah, with Eddie Murphy.
The Nutty Professor.
Oh, yeah.
The craziest thing is that
I like that. I like that movie.
He's a
Eddie
big
Murphy won 2 major critics awards for that performance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Over your Tom Cruises or your Jeffrey Rush.
I mean, he should have been nominated, no question.
It's a tough year, buddy.
Okay, the 5 were Fiennes,
Who should not have won. But he's nominated.
Rush, who did win,
Who should not have won.
Cruise,
Who should have won.
and then the other 2 would have been... Give me hints.
I'm not going to give you hints because we're going long.
Okay.
But Woody Harrelson in People vs. Larry Flint, which is a fantastic performance.
Beautiful performance.
And also along over, Harrelson's putting in his dues. you
Yeah.
know. And then Billy Bob Thornton for Sling Blade, which
Ooh,
is
boy.
another indie success of the year. And I just wrote a piece about Ben Affleck's Armageddon commentary on the Criterion edition. And every time, because obviously he recorded it in 98, every time Billy Bob Thornton is on screen, Ben Affleck goes into an extended Sling Blade impression where he's like, oh, yeah, see, the NASA's boys say there's an asteroid. And one person's like, what if the whole movie was just he got out of the funny home and he just got in charge of NASA and the whole thing's a hoax and there's no asteroid? Ben Affleck's commentary is really, seek it out. It's incredible.
I mean, I'll watch it. It's really weird that Jeffrey Rush won that year, actually. Looking back on it. I mean, because he's not the lead of that movie.
No, he's not even in it as nearly as much as some of these other nominees. Yeah.
And Noah Taylor, I think, has more screen time than he does, I would almost argue.
Yeah, but there was some weird magic to it.
It
is weird that he won.
Because it was
He's swept.
There was no question he was going to win.
Yeah.
It was inevitable. But he has, I mean, it's an interesting performance. It's a good performance. It's just, it's an odd win for a movie that didn't get that much attention otherwise.
But it got a bunch of Oscar nominations. Armin Mueller-Stahl.
Yeah, the great.
Yeah, so, that's the year Fargo wins for actress and screenplay. Cuba wins for supporting actor, gives a famous Oscar speech where he thanks everybody and he won't leave the stage and he's jumping around. It's very cute.
And it's very similar to Rod Tidwell.
Very similar to Rod
on
Tidwell's,
the talk show when he breaks down crying and they go, okay, we don't have time to thank everybody.
You are my ambassador, Quan.
That's why, overnight everyone was like, oh, I guess Cuba's a movie star because it was like, gave this star performance and then at the Oscars he keeps the brand going. He does the thing we all loved him doing in the movie and everyone was like, more of this, please. And they proceed to burn all his bridges.
He made some mistakes. He's still a good actor. He's good in People versus O.J. this year.
Yeah, he was very good in that.
But that's the year Binoche wins over Lauren Bacall, to everyone's shock, in supporting actress.
Right.
Regina King should have beaten both of them.
And I think I've referenced this before.
It's a tough year, though. You got Joan Allen in The Crucible. You got Marianne Jean-Baptiste in Secrets and Lies.
So wait, it's and
Barbara
McDormand
Hershey.
wins lead actress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. I think I've referenced this before in the past, but this was the first year my parents brought me to an Oscar party.
Yeah, no, you've said this.
And I was like, oh, everyone likes English Patient, and I just picked English Patient every category, and I almost won the whole thing. I was the only one who had Binoche because everyone else picked Bacall.
Right. Good job, buddy.
Thank you.
So we're basically done.
Yeah.
With talking about
G. Maguire.
Oh yeah, I wanted to read
Jerry Mags. Yeah.
this quote from the Armageddon commentary. By the way, Armageddon is a great movie. I just turned around on it having watched it with the commentary.
Yeah.
There's this moment where there's this god awful almost a parody montage of them all waving American flags and shit. And Affleck's like, I love this sequence. It looks like a Miller Genuine Giraffe ad. I like those ads. He's just so funny.
I have to listen to that.
Anyway, earlier on, he's like, have you ever noticed how everyone in these movies has to be the best? Bruce Willis is the best deep core driller. What do they rate deep core drillers? If you went around and asked somebody who's the best deep core driller, who would have an answer?
Is he the only one on the commentary track?
No, the commentary switches between 4 isolated tracks.
Oh, that's
Michael
always
Bay,
weird.
It is weird. Michael Bay, who's actually pretty funny and candid, but he's
Yeah.
very Michael Bay. Bruce Willis, who's useless, and they barely cut to him at all.
Yeah.
Jerry Bruckheimer, who's kind of whatever. You don't hear much
Patting
of him.
himself on the back. Yeah.
Michael Bay is often just like, that dog cost $20,000. That is a trained dog. He cost $20,000. He's doing a lot of that stuff.
And Affleck's just throwing out straight heat.
Affleck is literally like, do you see that helicopter in the background? That helicopter's in the scene for 1 second. They'll eat a whole day because they're just trying to show off and have a helicopter in the background. He's so funny.
That and Con Air, those two movies have the weirdest cast for a major blockbuster.
Armageddon has a crazy cast.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Affleck talks about. It's he's like, me, Owen Wilson,
Michael Clark Duncan, Steve Buscemi.
But Steve Buscemi's a writer. He's talking about how there were all these actors who write.
Yeah.
I mean, Affleck had just won an Oscar for writing,
Right.
And they were all just sort of hanging out and being like, "What is this fucking movie?" This
Peter
movie's crazy."
Stormare, right?
Peter
Will
Stormare's in
Patton,
it.
William Fichtner, Billy Bob, also an actor who had just won an Oscar
and
for writing.
Yep.
Yeah. Acclaimed novelist Bruce Willis.
Yeah, Bruce Willis, who wrote "In Search of Lost Time."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Anyway, Jerry Maguire, great movie.
yeah. Okay. So
This is my favorite Crowe movie. I can't deny
it is not mine.
So, Almost Famous is your favorite?
I believe so.
Oh, shit. I forgot to point something out.
I say believe so because I haven't seen Elizabethtown yet. Yes, Ben.
Oh, please.
In his apartment,
Uh-huh.
prominent fax machine.
I swear to God.
Okay, so that concludes Ben's Tech Corner for the day.
Oh, my God.
Ben, have fun cleaning up the ejaculate all over your little fucking sound booth.
I will.
Oh my God. This is a way better movie than Almost Famous. I'm sorry to say.
I prefer Almost Famous. We'll talk about that next week. And next week we'll be reviewing the bootleg cut, also known as Untitled. David is gesturing, jerking off a penis.
Yep.
He's running his cupped hand up and down.
Do you know, he almost called Almost Famous Vanilla Sky, and then he almost called it Untitled? There were, so many crappy titles he just had in, a basket.
I like all those titles. You know what I think is a great title? Vanilla Sky.
Vanilla Sky.
I want to eat that movie. When I see that DVD, I go, yeah, give me a scoop of that. Vanilla Sky, I think, is a great title.
I mean, he obviously wrote that down and was just like, I'll call a movie Vanilla
Someday
Sky
I'll call
sometime.
something Vanilla Sky.
Vanilla Sky.
Great title. Do you remember Paul McCartney's Vanilla Sky song?
Yeah, it's totally cute. I remember him playing it at the Oscars.
Yeah.
It's like that.
But he has to keep on saying Vanilla Sky
Vanilla
over. Get lost in a Vanilla Sky. That's where you get, doop a doop Vanilla Sky.
It's so weird.
Love Vanilla Sky. Give me 2 scoops of that.
I
please.
mean, I can't wait to talk about Vanilla Sky, and I have not seen it in years. You know the weird thing about Vanilla Sky?
It's called Vanilla Sky?
Yeah, I actually saw Abre los Ojos before I saw Vanilla Sky, which it's a remake of.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is that common because that movie wasn't a very big hit. But for some reason, I watched it on TV.
Well, see, I'll say the summer camp I went to, the day camp I went to when I was like 7 or 8, this kid on the bus was fucking obsessed with Abras los Ojos.
Open Your Eyes.
And would talk
by
about
Alejandro
it
Amenabar.
every fucking day.
It's kind of a cool movie. Way better than Vanilla Sky.
But every day he'd sit next to me on the bus and be like, I'm telling you this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And he would just like talk about it. So when Vanilla Sky came out, it was a remake of that. I was like, well, fuck that. You know when someone talks about something so much that you decided you hate it?
Sure. Right,
So I like didn't want to see a remake of that movie.
Maybe we should watch it.
That I hadn't seen. Maybe we should.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I want to watch it. And he's had an interesting career.
At Amenabar?
Yeah.
Some of the my back pages, The Uncool, Imagine, Tangerine, 1,000 Words.
The Uncool is the name of his website. I mean, a lot of these things he repurposed for other
I
things.
know, yeah. Hotel Kisses, In Through the Outdoor.
Well, that's terrible. That's the
What if he
worst
had
thing
made
I've
a
ever
movie
heard.
called In Through the Outdoor?
Yeah, I would have vomited if he made a movie called In Through the Outdoor. I'll say, I mean, you know, calling a movie Untitled is pretentious. I do think Almost Famous is one of the few movies where it's like that kind of works as a title.
I think Almost Famous is a decent title.
I do too, but
I think Untitled is a shit title.
I think it's a good title for that movie.
Fuck that.
I like it.
Fuck it.
Next week we'll be reviewing Untitled, a.k.a. Almost Famous, the bootleg cut. I believe you can find it on Blu-ray right now for $5. I don't know if it's available on streaming sites or if on, you know, your Amazons, your iTuneses, if it's only the theatrical version, but it's out there. You can watch it somehow. So please, thank you for listening. Get ready for that.
Yeah.
There'll also be a Del Close Marathon episode. I don't know when that will drop
release
in
that
relation
at some
to
point.
this, but it's a bonus episode. We're still trying to figure out exactly
All right,
what it will be.
We've run like 2 hours.
Yeah,
Okay.
We're end of this. Thank you all for listening. Please rate, subscribe, review, tweet at us, email us, all the stuff.
We will. We promise we will read some reviews. We keep saying
we
we're
keep on
going to do
forgetting
it.
that.
So
Yeah.
sorry about that. It'll happen soon.
Yeah. So just tune in next time for a good, another Case from the Orange twist file, another burger report, review corner, all your favorite things, merchandise spotlight. Jerry Maguire merchandise spotlight was the most produced VHS tape of all time, and it was
True.
the highest selling non-Disney VHS of all time.
Yep.
Which has led to the Mimi sort of everything is terrible thing where the guy's trying to collect as many Jerry Maguire tapes as possible. And he's built a room out of Jerry Maguire tapes. Do you know about this?
No, but we have to.
It's
You
funny.
call them memes?
Mimi. I was saying Mimi like not like it's a
Mimi
meme-ish
with a
thing.
Y. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, stay tuned for all of that. And as always, remember to tweet at Lipnicki. Great job. You did a great job. Hashtag the two.
This has been a UCB comedy production. Check out our other shows on the UCB Comedy Podcast Network.